I'm so grateful for Gregory Heisler. It's always been a hero of mine, someone I've looked up to for a long time, and his lighting has inspired me to become a better photographer. And we're just grateful for Cammie for sponsoring him, and I'm just going to turn the time over to Gregory.
All right, well, thanks for coming back for more. You're going to be so sick of photography in another day and a half, for sure. It'll be like, I used to like it. I'm like over it now. No, this is great. And like I said this morning, I think it's a really unusually terrific group. Of course, what else would I say? But I really do think you are. I think it's great. Like you can sense it, and everybody's really into it, and everybody's really curious. And with professionals, that's not always the case, right? It's not. Like sometimes I talk to professional groups, and it's like, tell me something I don't already know. How come you're up there and I'm down here? It's like that kind of thing. It's like, well, it's not a lot of fun. You guys are great. I really super appreciate it. I do. And it's there's a super organized situation here. I was saying to them that like they should conduct workshops on how to conduct workshops. Really, it's like they got it all figured out, and it makes it, you spend your time not dealing with logistics because they have already. It's really a big deal. And it's an honor to be here with all the other folks. I mean, really a super treat with Dan and Joe. They're both amazing photographers and super humble, right? Like super humble. And that to me is so refreshing. It really is. So it's a big treat. So I'm doing two things today, one of which is this. And I have a little presentation that should be hopefully relatively stimulating, okay? And then we're gonna go to the studio, and this lighting is a big piece of what I do, for sure. And there are many points of view on this, but I'm sure I'm right, which is the only thing the camera sees is light. It doesn't know anything about anything else, whether it's film or a sensor. All it sees is light, right? That's it. And so if you can't understand it or control it, you're kind of out of luck at that point, because the camera doesn't see what you see. And really early on, it was just heartbreak after heartbreak, right? I'd open a box of Kodachrome, and what I thought was going to be there wasn't there. And it was just time after time, and sometimes I would get it okay, but a lot of times it wasn't. And that's heartbreaking. It is. And I kind of figured out pretty quick, like, I have to speak the language of this. If I'm going to make it work, I have to learn how this sees. And there's different ways to do it, one of which is to actually sort of use that disparity to be creative in what the film does, right? And you could see work like Jay Mazel's, you could see work like Alex Webb. There's lots of people that sort of like, in a sense, not in a technical way, they're sort of like exposed down, it has a really inky blacks, the colors really good. There's like ways to work with that. But if what I wanted to see was what I was seeing, it is, I don't know, it's like a piano with 88 keys as your eyes, and the film is like a toy piano that has 12 keys. So if you're writing compositions for 88 keys and somebody hits you with a 12-key piano, you're going to be out of luck and not going to sound so good. So you either can say, I'm going to just write my compositions for 12 keys so that I have an amazing thing happening with my 12-key piano, or I'm going to have to make excuses or wish it was a different way or something like that. And so for me, I felt like I have to learn this language. I have to learn how to talk film, which it was then, and now it's digital. But it's the same concept anyway. And I felt like I need to do that. So, and lighting, I actually couldn't care less about as a thing. Like it's what I spend all my time doing, and I fortunately enjoy it, and it's fine. All I really want is the pictures in the end. It's like, wow, I can't wait to get my hands on the new Rectomatic blah, blah. It's like, if I could just go click with my eyes, I would do it. Like, that's great. I'd be really good with that. But the fact is that I feel like I have to do this stuff. It's what I need to do to make the pictures I'm trying to make. Really important to me. And I don't want it to be a surprise. And certainly nowadays, in the universe of photographers, it's collaborative, which is great. But, people have like lighting techs who work with them, or their director of lighting, right? And they have somebody that makes the digital prints, a printing person. And at that point, I don't don't want to work that way. I just don't. There's nothing wrong with it. There are people who are better at printing than I would be, I'm sure, right? I like doing it. I think one of the things that's amazing about digital photography is you can literally be truly the author of your own work from start to finish. You're like mixing up what the film's going to look like in a sense, and you can change your mind later, which is amazing. And you can make the prints the way you want them to make, and you can control the light. And literally you could have, you could have a Canon 600X R2. I mean, you could actually have like a camera, a lens, a flash in a bag, have a laptop, and have a phenomenal little Canon printer sitting on your desk, and you could actually have an exhibition with everything that you control. You could. You totally could, right? And I think it's fun to work with all these other people. It is, and certainly as Dan had talked about, and Joe, for bigger productions, that is what you do, right? And it's great to work with people who know more than you do. That's awesome. But I love doing it myself. I just do. I really like it. And I like making my own mistakes, and I like figuring it out. And as Julianne Cost, who's like the genius Adobe evangelist, said, you paid for the sliders, you might as well use them. It's like, I'll move it till it falls on the floor. Like, I don't know, see what happens, right? The darkroom days, I'd be in the darkroom, and you make the print, and you forget to stop down the enlarger, and it's way too dark, it comes up fast, and you're like, well, that's kind of cool. That can be pretty good. And if you have somebody who's an expert printer printing for you, they will give you the really good print, but you miss out on all the choices that you could have made on the way to that, right? And also you sort of know what's possible. So that's kind of cool. And with lighting, to me, even more so. Like, I think it's so cool to do every step of that. Like, I don't want to be a photo manager. I don't want to be like the aimer. Like, what am I, the aimer? No, I want to figure the whole thing out. It's kind of what's fun. And working with magazines, which we've all done, I feel a super responsibility for what I do. I take it super seriously. It's not like I do it because I'm like into blue, or I think ring flash is cool, or I want to try this and that. Like, no. It's like I have to take a picture of this person. What's the right thing to me, right? And if you think of it that way, it's sort of like there are all these components to it. There's, in a portrait sense at least, there's the person you're photographing as a big part of the equation, right? And in a sense, I'm the least of it. Like, I shot the darn thing. You get me for free every time I push the button, right? It's not like, what's my thing? Like, well, that's me. I did it, right? I'm assuming that's me every time. It's not like, but neon thumbs like, it's Greg. It's just like, no, I did it. It's fine. So who's the person? That'd be a consideration. Why are we doing this now? Like, what's the story? That would be a consideration. Who's it for? That'd be a consideration. Right? So like if I were doing a story on, I don't know, whoever, I could be doing a story on Taylor Swift, right? I could be doing a story on Taylor Swift for Rolling Stone with respect to her latest tour. That might be a certain kind of picture. I could be doing a story on Taylor Swift for Fortune, and it's all about her investments and her money. To me, that wouldn't be the same picture now, right? Or if I did it for Time because she's Person of the Year, that wouldn't be the same picture. Like the pictures they ran on that were perfectly nice. It seemed like a squandered opportunity to me. They should have hired me. No, it's a squandered opportunity because I feel like that's a picture that could have been in Vogue and it could have been in Vanity Fair. That's when Time is stupid because they want to be as cool as Vanity Fair. So it's like, no, it should be for you. Like, what's the way to do it for you? Do your own take on it. Instead of just like kind of glamour-ass, not very great pictures of her. Like, I've seen those already. I don't need more of that. You know what I mean? So like, well, that's kind of a bummer. But to me, so that would be a different picture, right? Or if I'm doing a picture of Taylor Swift for Time, or I'm doing a picture of Joe Biden for Time, those would be different. Not because Taylor Swift gets girl lighting and Biden gets old guy lighting, or Taylor Swift gets music lighting and Biden gets politician lighting. You know what I mean? It's like, well, they're different. They'd be different. I wouldn't do the same thing for that. And it isn't just a stylistic thing. To me, it's, like I said, I feel really strong responsibility, because for every person that actually reads the story, like 1,000 times that many people look at the picture inside. And for all the people who look at the picture, 10,000 times that many people see the cover. So all those people who see it, most of them are never going to read the story. They want to see the picture inside. And all magazines, everything's like word people run the world, right? So that's who does it. And usually the visual sophistication is like, I don't know much, but I know what I like. It's like, good for you. I have eyeballs. So it's like, well, that's good. You're qualified. On the other hand, though, that's the person I want that person to get the memo when I do the picture. Otherwise, I've failed. And that's not dumbing it down. That's my job, is that. Because they might never read the story. And ideally, if my picture is the right kind of picture, they'll be like, oh, I wonder what that is. And they'll flip it open, and they'll see the other picture, and they'll go, now I'm really good. And then they'll read the story. That'd be cool. Doesn't always happen. That's what I would like to see happen. But I would like to see all that happen so that they find out more about Taylor Swift, not me. Like we're in the era of like the photographer as celebrity or something. You know, and it's like, that's backward. It's like I'm in service to doing this thing, right? I get my rocks off doing it. I think it's great. But I don't see myself as like the guy, as the thing. I'm sort of like in service to the story, in service to the person, in service to, like I really do feel that way, you know? And almost to a fault, I'm like a pleaser. Like I want everybody to be happy, I want everybody to like me, I try to be funny, you know, it's like that kind of stuff. But I want to like do a good job, I'm like a do a good job guy, for sure. And so all that stuff really matters to me, and I do take it super seriously, I do. And again, at the magazine, they'll sweat out like what the cover line is, or the opening graph of the story. A week later, does anybody remember that? No, they don't remember that. They remember the picture. They don't remember the story at all. And so the pictures are really where it's, and now more than ever, right? Photographs transcend languages, they transcend cultural barriers. It's like, it's immediate, right? So like we have an obligation to be visually literate, right? And as Dan was talking about to me, it's really important. Knowing the history of photography is really great. Not just to be a historian, it's fun. And like I teach it at school. It's part of what I did, like the most sort of three, we were talking about this last night. There's three main things. One of which is like how to use the machine and understand that because you're using a machine. You kind of got to know that. The second thing would be the after the machine part, which is like Lightroom kind of situation, like what happens after that, that's kind of important. And then the history, like you have to know what it is, right? And most photographers don't know much photo history. Like the history of art is long. History of photography is pretty short. You can know it. There ain't a whole lot there. It's like a couple hundred years, you know, it's not a lot really. So, and it's fun. It's really fun. And for me, I was a dummy. Like I started out, I didn't know about history of photography very much. I just had to take pictures. I wanted to be like Arnold. I wanted to be like Irving Penn or Richard Avedon. Like that's what I wanted to do, right? And before that, I wanted to be Walter Yost and I wanted to be Neil Leifer. And you know, it's like that's what I want to be. That's why it's important to me to be in the magazines. Like there's and this is not a better or worse thing at all. At Syracuse University, where I teach, there are two colleges within the university that teach photography. One is the College of Visual and Performing Arts, and that's fine art photography. And at Newhouse, the Newhouse School, is the tradition is photojournalism and also, in a sense, commercial photography, advertising, whatever, like that. And I hate that. There's like, they should be together. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think it's like a really old construct. It's one of the reasons I dropped out of RIT. I went there for a year. It's like, you had to pick. You could either be a fine art photographer or commercial photographer, and the faculty even thought of each other as like the commercial hacks are the artsy-fartsy guys. And it's like, that's your problem, man. Like, I want both. I want both. Like, I want to learn how to use the wooden camera and the lights, and I wanted to learn how to photograph alienation, man. Like, I want both. I want both. That's your problem. It's your insecurity. And the fact of the matter is, the world has changed. And you could actually shoot conflict and do a book and have your work exhibited. And if you want to do anything crazy like own a house, have a family, drive a car, you would do some commercial work. It's orders of magnitude that it pays more, right? Like orders of magnitude. So, and it's fun. it's not like you're selling out. It's like each thing informs the other. It's like totally a cool thing. So that kind of split, and Arnold actually had a great thing. He used to say, oh, you're so-called fine art photographers. Yeah, I don't know, they're so much good. You wouldn't call yourself a fine art painter or a fine art sculptor. You're just a damn painter or sculptor. All these fine art photographer, like, wow, you know. And he said, you know, you look at pictures like Outer Bridge, Penn, they're in museums. They were shot for advertising. You know, it's like, who cares about that? He would say, just do your pictures, do the best picture you can, and just let the world figure it out. You know, it's such a refreshing way to see stuff, right? And as a Depression-era kid, that's just practical. I got to feed my family. I got, you know, that kind of stuff. So this work for magazines is, like, it's never not about me, obviously, but it's really to get you sort of clued in. That would be my fantasy, is that would happen. That's it. And people have all kinds of misconceptions, you know, like at school, for sure, they would teach about Gene Smith is held up as like the quintessential photojournalist back in the day. His essays, Country Doctor, and The Spanish Village, and Minamata, and Pittsburgh, they're held up today, right? And he made his own prints in the darkroom, and he would manipulate them. And he said, I was an available light photographer, I use any damn light that's available. And there are pictures of his that are really famous pictures that are lit. It's like, no. It's like, yeah. And his thing is, I'm not showing you what it looked like. My job is to show you what it felt like. And it's like, that is a responsibility, for sure, right? I mean, I remember pictures, and it isn't even like cheating or retouching or Photoshop. It's like aiming this way or this way. That's it, right? Remember the pictures where everybody's walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge? I remember seeing a picture that had everybody and W. The better picture was when they kind of went that way and cropped out W. Because like then you really saw the people you wanted to see. So they wouldn't Photoshop them out. It's just like, they went from like 70 millimeters to 73. You know, that's okay, nothing wrong with that. They didn't crop it at the newspaper, that'd be bad. It's photographer's choice. You know, so that to me, it's all of a piece in a way. Okay, so I'm going to show you pictures. That's what I should do. Sorry, I won't. And the lighting stuff I'll touch on, but we'll go to it more over there, and I'll talk about that. So I had to do a self-portrait for a thing, and I had this old tripod, Saltzman tripod. It's a great old tripod, and I thought it'd be funny because I'm very self-conscious. So that did the job. That was okay. So I was in Wendover, Utah in like 1982 or something to photograph this guy. I just brought this because Wendover, Utah. I was dying to go on Friday, Saturday, but I can't stay because I have to start teaching a class on Monday. But they had to just photograph him. He was making lightning, right, this guy. And he was a little bit nuts for sure. And there are pictures, many pictures of him that were made of him like standing by this machine and all kinds of stuff. And you're in that hangar. It's, I believe, the hangar where they fitted out the Enola Gay with the bombs that dropped in Japan, right? It's like this humongous airplane hangar that he was renting from the government for like $1 or something. And you're in the room with this thing that's making lightning, and as you can imagine, where there's lightning, there's thunder, and you're there, right? So he fired this thing up, and it was nuts. I mean, really nuts. And there's a long story about this that I won't go into because we just don't have time, but the whole goal of this picture is to make you feel what I felt when I'm standing there, right? So I could light him with a big, beautiful octabank, which would be totally fine. So here's an important thing with lighting. I will mention this. This is just my opinion about it. I think there's two kinds of lighting in the world when you're doing lighting. One kind is lighting that emulates or simulates or mimics or recreates ambient light. It's like what you see in movies all the time, right? So that's like lighting that you don't know there's lighting. That's kind of doing that thing I was talking about, like the film doesn't see it the way you see it, so you have to create it so the film sees it. So that's one whole universe of lighting. And the other whole universe of lighting is you think it's cool and you do it, and so what? And that's great, right? There's like tons of that. Where just like you're doing it because it's saying what you want to say, it looks the way you want it to look. It doesn't have to relate to anything in particular except it's your vision of it. And that's fine. Those to me are the two universes. Not better or worse, they're just different mindsets in a way. And I go back and forth for sure depending on what it is I'm doing. this kind of, to me, felt like it's what might be there. There would be no reason for like an octobank to be there. There wouldn't be. It would be a totally cool picture to do that, right? Like, I've taken pictures like that. We see them. There's very famous photographers out there who made a whole career doing that kind of thing, and they're really nice pictures. It's just not the picture I want to make. It's a totally cool thing to do. I just don't want to do that. Because otherwise it looks like there was a photographer there with an octobank. That sort of, to me. So that's that picture. We just go, and again, it's the kind of thing I'm here, and I go to that, and my uncle goes, geez, what's that? Like, bing, it's good to me. That he wants to know more about what is this guy nuts? Who's that? Sort of that thing. This is a picture kind of put me on the map a little bit. It was for Life magazine. It was 1980, and it was a story on lowriders in East LA. And it's kind of like a little subculture, and these guys who would kind of restore these 50s cars and like lower them to the ground. And they weren't racing them, they just kind of promenade along Whittier Boulevard sort of thing. And there's a lot of choices, right? Like I could have done a black and white documentary picture that's actually documentary, or I could have done portrait documentary, like with a Hasselblad in black and white, and the guy standing in the driveway of his ranch house in the burbs of East LA with the car parked in the driveway. You could do that, that's cool. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I felt like I wanted to see what he felt about, like how sexy he thought it was, and she thought it was. So I kind of wanted to get at that. And when they do this, a lot of times is like at dusk on Whittier Boulevard. I thought it'd be really cool to do that. So it was my first time ever shooting out in LA, which was great. Never been there. And this was shot in the parking lot of a funeral home just because I love the, I guess they're cypress trees. Being from New York, they look like big asparagus to me. I thought it was really cool. It was an empty place and we could go there. And I had this idea and hadn't done it, but I thought it'd be cool to like freeze the car but have some motion. And this was before like front and rear curtain stuff. And the street, he's actually driving backwards at like 2 miles an hour, and the streaks are just coming from the parking lot lights, reflecting from the chrome in the glass, right? And this was right at dusk, and I was fumbling around, and I wasn't sure what I was doing. Camera's on the ground, and it's just a battery-powered flash, nothing fancy. And there's no digital camera. We have Polaroids, little Polaroids. They're like contact print size Polaroids that you from an attachment, and they're always soft, and you can't see much. They were great for showing clients because you show them, oh, let me see what you're doing. And you have this thing, they sort of play the trombone with it, like, trying to see it, and they go, well, you're the artist. Yeah, it's like that kind of thing. You know what they're looking at. And so for me, that was like, that's what I'm looking at, and every time I wait 60 seconds, it's getting darker. It's like you can't blow your time looking at Polaroid at that time of day. So I shot it, and I shot like 6 or 8 frames. That's all I got off. And put it in the lab, and this was the one frame that worked the best for sure. Thank God, it's straight, no anything extra to it. And I was really worried that I wasn't getting it. We had weather issues waiting, and I was new. I was like 25, I guess, when I shot this. And I called the picture editor, who's this guy John Loengard, who's a very imposing character. And it was a really lovely person, but I didn't know that then. I was just super intimidated. He was the picture editor of Life magazine. He was a guy of few words, like that kind of thing. And I called him on the phone, and I just quickly said, I'm not sure, I'm trying this new thing, I don't know, blah, 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 what do you think? And he said, well, Greg, if you can't do it, we'll find someone who can. And he hung up on me. And it's like, wow, that was hard. Honestly, that was really hard. Like, so what do I do? Do I like cover it some other way? And I'm not a big fan of trying things different ways. Like, there is, again, a perfectly valid way to think about it, totally, which is shoot what they want and then shoot one for yourself. And I never do that because I feel like I want the good one to be the one. Like, I want to do what they want better than they would know how to ask for it. It's not like I'm going to go off in my direction. It's like, no, man, I'm the photographer. Like, I know what's possible, right? So I want to do that, and I want that to be the one that gets used. If it sits in my drawer, it won't do any good. But I want everybody to see it. That's like the cool thing. And And I tend not to shoot safe stuff. I find that I do my best work, like I take the biggest chances on the biggest jobs, really. Because it's hanging it out there, and I just feel like it can't not work. Like it has to. You know, so you just, like all bets are off, and you have to make it work. So that's always what I've done. And like Dan was talking about, I would submit like a frame. Not out of arrogance, nothing like that at all. It's just like, this is the picture. Like you want the best picture, right? This is the picture, and this is it. And given half a chance, they won't use the right one. It's almost like a rule of thumb. They won't. And Arnold had a great saying, which was, they can't use a picture they never see. That's true. And I think where we've talked about this, where photographers sometimes get into a trap is they get very attached to a picture because of how hard it was to take, or how great the experience was, or how meaningful. And it's like, this is where I'm a complete asshole. It's like, this is all I know. You could be a great humanitarian or a horrible person. All I've got's this. It's either there or it's not. Like I love you like a brother, it's not here. Right? Just the way it is. And my former wife, like I did a lot of corporate pictures in the beginning, shooting, guys in ties, that kind of stuff. And I would do really beautiful lighting, and I'd show it to her, and I'd say, what do you think? And she said, well, darling, it's a bit stiff. I'd be like, no, but look, the gaslight's so great. I know, honey, I know you love it, but it really is a bit stiff. It's like that kind of thing. And you have to be able to remove yourself from the experience. It could be life-changing for you, right? It just doesn't matter. It doesn't mean it's not worthwhile to do it. But in terms of evaluating the picture, the only thing that matters is the picture. And I know photographers who are really good friends who are complete and utter assholes. We all have great friends that are assholes, right? That's how we do. They're your friend. And they're horrible. They do really good pictures. It's a drag. Do you know what I mean? Some do really good pictures. It's not why they're good. Some do. And there are people I know who are beautiful, like absolutely amazing people. It's not there. So in terms of just not how are they as human beings, but like, is it in the picture? That's it. That's really, it's cold. It's how I see my stuff. It's either yes or no. It's yes or no. So anyway, I did this. It kind of put me on the map. It was different. It was a different way of seeing color. It wasn't gimmicky. It kind of fit the thing. And the pictures were like that. I was trying to develop like a visual language for this story, right? And it was shooting at dusk was part of it. I wanted to get the motion going on. These cars like jump up and down. This guy wanted a picture of his girlfriend in his car. It looked like a pornographic coffin on the inside or something. He wanted a picture of her and another car's going by doing streaks. And again, it's like one frame on Kodachrome. That was the worked out. But I felt like it kind of got it, which was really fun. And it was really a neat thing, for sure. This was a story not long after that, like a year later, that was for Life for Geo magazine on sheriffs out west. And I photographed a guy in the context of another story who looked like the Marlboro Man's grandfather. So, he's like, this is the guy you think of as a sheriff, right? And this slow walking, slow talking kind of guy. And the truth is he has no more in common with Billy the Kid than I do, right? He had like a desktop computer, and he drives a Dodge Polara or something. He's not riding a horse. But he clearly saw himself in that romantic way. And one day I just said, like, are there more guys like you around? And he's like, yeah, we sort of have an association out here, And he said, I'll introduce these people, but I want to come. He's an amateur photographer, right? And so he took me around. We photographed these sheriffs in New Mexico, and it was really cool. And that was a totally different way of working. It was with a little wooden 4x5 camera, film, slow. I actually used a completely different kind of film that wasn't even made for that. But it was a very intentional way of going. People respond differently to the camera. You point a wooden camera at somebody, they shut up and sit straight. They do. I photographed Arafat with that same camera, and he's like, I have not seen a camera like this since I was a little boy. Like everybody, it doesn't mean I'm better than the next guy, but they think I am for sure. And it's an occasion for them. So it doesn't mean it's better, but it definitely sets up a different kind of dynamic. So that's these pictures, and they don't look like this at all, right? It's this guy, this, right? It's a whole different like color palette. They're kind of quiet. A really different kind of thing. Not in a rush. These pictures are not in a rush at all. So, and this was the guy I first met. And the writer saw him the next day after I took this picture. And he said, oh, yeah, how was it with Greg? And it didn't take too long. The guy said, well, he said, I'll tell you, that young man comes to take your pictures is you don't bring a watch, you bring a calendar. Good, yeah. It's like, okay. So there's that. And then several years later, I got a call to do the first black and white story. So we all started out in black and white, obviously. Shooting film is what we do. And I got to doing color. And with color, I would get hired to make pictures that were colorful, pretty much. And I was known as sort of a problem solver. And I prided myself on that. But the thing with that is like what you tend to get lots of is problems. Like you get hired to shoot things that just aren't interesting, and your job is to make them interesting, which is totally cool. That's fine. I have a whole other kind of presentation about that. And black and white, like in Life magazine, was for war, famine, poverty, and fine art. Pretty much. That was life. And everything else was colored. And so I would never get to do the black and white stories. I wasn't that guy. And a woman from Sports Illustrated called me and said they wanted to do a story. It wasn't even on Ali, it was on his entourage. The people were made up his posse back then, at the peak of his career. As a black and white story, it's like, excuse me, you said black and white. And she said, yeah, I think it'd be great if you did that. So it was the first time I'd ever used all my kind of lighting stuff to not solve a problem, but to kind of convey a feeling. And in the end, to this day, I think that's kind of one of the, conundrums in photography in a way, or paradoxes, I guess would be a better word, is that photography is all about taking pictures of, as Dan said, of stuff, people, things, objects, landscape, places. So it's that, documentary photography, document. But in the end, I feel like the purpose of it is to elicit a feeling, a response from somebody. That's what it's about. It's not about the stuff, it's about the feeling that you create with that. Or not even that you create, that you tingle in someone else. You give them a little tingle. That's what I was saying about the two schools at SU. The easiest way for me to think of the two schools, the fine art and the journalistic thing, is one of them is for an audience of one, and one of them is for an audience of many, right? If it's an audience of one, it's self-expression. It's your party, and not for anybody. Other people can come see it, but you're not creating it for them, you're creating it for yourself, right? At Newhouse is a school of public communications, so it is for an audience of many, and if they don't kind of get it on some level, I feel like you failed, right? And I love that idea. Personally, again, not judgment, I feel like it's a higher calling. Like, I like the audience of many. I like it. I like somebody who can give a shit about pictures to go, wow, that's cool. I don't care if the curator likes it. I love that some guy scratching his butt picks up Sports Illustrated and thinks it's a cool picture. That, like I was saying, like that to me is the cool thing. I really like that. So that's what I like. And my feeling is it's never not self-expression if you're doing it with your heart in it. It's just never not even have to try. That's like the reason you're doing it, sort of, you know. And as Dan had talked about, and as Joe's talked about, there's also times that you are doing things called jobs. That's a big thing for me at school, is like there's the long-form projects, and my thing there is when these students leave, call me crazy, they'll have to do these crazy things called job assignments, jobs, right? It's not living with a family for 3 weeks. It's like, go here, take a picture of this thing or this person, and we need the stuff tomorrow at 5. That's jobs. Or shoot my daughter's senior portrait, or do this, or whatever it is. Like those jobs. You have to know how to do that, right? That's like an important thing. That's fine. So this is the Ali thing, and this for me, there were 2 pictures from that I was really proud of. One is this one. He was Ali's masseur, right? It's the picture Dan was talking about. And it's an interesting thing because in the story, the guy who wrote the story, Gary Smith, was really great. Ali was like the biggest talker of his era, right? He was the most famous person on earth. And Cerrillos from Cuba, he only spoke Spanish. So Ali would have like 2 hours a day in total silence with him, right? It's like this blissful state. And so he was a really important person, went to photograph him. He lived in Miami. And I brought with an assistant I'd worked with Monica, and she was fluent in Spanish. She was from Miami, as it turned out, but I know her in New York. And there's no cell phones. the gates closed to us. He lived in this little house, like dogs barking, it's the whole story. But basically he came out and initially didn't want to get photographed, and I was really quiet with him and gentle, but like not over weeks. Like, I have to get him to think this is a good idea in 10 minutes. Not because I want to manipulate him, I really want him to trust me. I think it's really important. It is. And people pick it up right away. You know, like a big question that gets asked all this, how do you get people to pose? What do you do? That kind of, it's always, right? And I don't get people to pose because I feel like when you do that, and there's books on posing, when you do that, what you get is a pose. Like, I don't want to pose, right? And posing is bad. Guys have like an amazing repertoire of like 6 poses. This is one. This is for men. This is pose number 1. Pose number 2 would be this. Pose number 3 would be this. Pose number 4 could be this. Pose number 5 could be this. And pose number 6 is the ever popular this. I'm serious, that's it, guys, that's it. That's what you get, man, right? So I don't want them to do that. And my feeling is, and for women half the time, literally from high school girls to like, you know, Barbara Bush, it's the I'm a little teapot pose. This is like kick out a hip, and it's that, right? Do you ever see Taylor Swift do it? No. You ever see real models? Not really. If somebody figured it out, that's what it is. So I don't want that. What I want is, I try to elicit a gesture, not do a pose, right? And I try to do things that will help that out. It might be how I talk to people, and some people are amazing at it right off the bat. Right, you say cross your leg and lean against the wall, and some guy's going over, and he's just going to like, just do this kind of thing, and he's there, and it looks like great, right? And then you have somebody who's great, like Michael Bloomberg, who just sort of doesn't do that well, and you say lean against the wall, and he sort of stands. So for some people, you have to figure out ways to get them to be okay, not get them, manipulate them, but facilitate their being okay. And for some people, it's almost mechanical, like lift your left eyebrow 1/8 of an inch. Do you know what I mean? Like it's that. Or pretend my hand is a suction cup and I'm moving your face. Like sometimes it's actually physically stuff like that. Sometimes, right? And I'm like chatty and funny and stuff, but my pictures aren't particularly funny, generally. I think they're quiet. And I'm quiet when I'm with people. If I tell jokes, like I don't want them talking because their mouths are, you know, like it's a different thing. So anyway, the point was I sat down on the stoop next to him of his house. We're on his front stoop, but you don't see his front stoop. That's not, I did shoot a few pictures that were like that, but it really wasn't about that, it was about him. And he had these amazing hands. And he didn't want to be photographed. He had an infection in his lip, and his lip was swollen. And like Dan had talked about, sometimes it's a gift. You get thrown a curve, and you can, and when I was an assistant, I worked with photographers. When you're an assistant, you sometimes learn a lot by like, wow, that guy just did this really cool thing, or I love the way she worked with the person. I hate to say it, but a lot of times it's like, I would never talk to somebody like that. I would never like that. I can't believe they missed that picture. Oh my God. You know, there's a lot of that. And that's really useful. I'm not being critical, it's just like, wow, you learn a lot real fast. Like you get to spectate, and it's not your butt on the line, you get to see it. You know, it's cool. And I would see people who would just complain. You know, we drive up to Connecticut, photograph some actor in his house, and it would be cloudy, and the photographer, oh man, it's sunny, oh, I want to do that. And if Annie Leibovitz did it, they give her the line, and it's like, I don't know, complaining about this, it's like, y'all be the photographer, man. It's like, you either figure out a good cloudy day picture or you make some sun, man. It's like, if it's hot, don't go. I mean, I would never say that, but I'd be sitting in the passenger seat going, oh, geez, you know, that kind of thing. Like, wow, like make it happen, man. That's your thing, you know, sort of. So yeah, so I had the idea of what I thought I wanted to do, and I literally taped with just gaffer tape a little, like sort of, they didn't make a softbox that really was a thing, taped a thing that I was from a different light onto like a battery light, and she's hand holding it like here, right? And it's shot like, I don't know, a roll of medium for 12 frames, 15, not a lot. And when I took a picture, he actually brought his hands up to his face to cover his lip, right? But ultimately, it's these big hands that are so great, right? It's like a gift, right? And not only that, but it was shot with, I think it was a 50 on a 6x7 camera, which would be like a 28 sort of ish, maybe 35 or in between. It's a little wide, but what makes his head go around, and it makes his hands look just a little, not a lot, but it gives it a real three-dimensional kind of thing. So you kind of want to know, like, oh, portraits, I always use the 120. 120 on Hasselblad is portraits. That's your portrait lens. Well, it is and it isn't. There isn't such thing. But Arnold would use on his 35mm camera, his portrait lens was like a 28mm tilt shifter. So like that's his portrait lens. That's his normal lens, right? It's like whatever, however you use it. You know, if you have somebody who's a big person and you use a 105, their face is going to look like a pizza pan. Like that's not the lens you want maybe for that person. Maybe, you know what I mean? It's like, I would never take tips online of like, here's the thing to use for this. I always feel like if they're so great, like why are they wasting their time writing online? Like they should be taking pictures, sort of, you know, a little bit of that. But I also think, I want to try it out. Like I had a studio in the city for decades, and maybe 20 times in that time, clients came. The rest of the time was like a sandbox to play in. Because believe it or not, as a freelance photographer, there are days when you're unemployed. I know it's crazy, hard to believe, but there are. And that's when we try stuff out. And I wouldn't say like, oh, you know, the 85 is the lens. Like, I'd go to my camera store and say, I'm going to buy one of these. I need like the 85, the 7200, the 105. I just want for like an hour. And I'd shoot a picture with each of them and see. I wouldn't take somebody's word for it. You know, oh, you know, Annie Leibovitz uses this lab or something. It's like, well, maybe it's great or maybe it sucks. Like, I want to try it and see if it's what I would do. Like, just learn your own preferences, you know. It doesn't take long. So anyway, that was one of him. And then this one, there's another picture somewhere. Whoop, that one. Was of him in the snow. He lived on, believe it or not, Al Capone's old farm up in Michigan. And if you were standing there, it was like 4 in the afternoon on a hazy day, sunny but hazy, and it's white, like it's a white sky and white snow, and it's white on white on white. And even then, he was suffering from trauma-induced Parkinson's. Like he was quiet, and he was at home, and he's friendly, and he was like a radio that comes in and out in a way. Like sometimes he was right there, and other times he'd sort of be off a little bit. And I wasn't sure what to do, and I actually just walked out and walked around. I said, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I just walked around. I got kind of far from the house. It's in the background. And I saw that tree, and I felt like I just want a sense of like quietude, like just quiet. And like, here's this guy, and he's in his own place, and he's not sad. Like maybe it's a relief in a way. I don't know. You know, he's sort of like in his own space there. And I thought I wanted to get that sense of being isolated. And so I had this idea. I used the same battery-powered light I used for this guy, and put a different reflector on it that makes it in like a little spotlight. And that's it. And that was the picture. And it's fine. And I've Polaroided a book of like my assistant standing there freezing his butt off in the snow while we figured it out. And then Ali came out. And this is a portrait I did, and he's literally in his kitchen. He has his hands up on the doorway, right? But it just feels to me like sunlight. It does feel like, oh, it's an octabank with a beauty dish, with a distance. It's like, no, I want it to look like light that would come in a kitchen window. You know what I mean? And I don't think of lighting as like, we'll talk about this later, as like, oh, it's the this light and the that light. It's sort of like I'll see light somewhere, and I'm a terrible person. I don't carry a camera around all the time. I'll see something and my brain goes click. Because I sort of, when I would carry a camera, especially now, I just feel like, with a phone I do it, but I just feel like all those pictures, I don't want to keyword them, I don't want to share them, I don't want to back them up. I actually don't ever want to look at them again. I was just so happy to have seen it, right? And so my brain goes click for those. And a lot of times what it clicks at would be light. And I'll just see something and I'll just remember it. And 3 years later, it's like, oh, remember I was in that bar and the light was lighting up the bottle. Oh, it'd be so cool. So I try to think of what that would be, right? Sort of. So that's kind of where this comes from. And that's how they ran it. And it was, I think it might have been their first black and white cover back then. I'll just go through these quickly. These are just different covers for different things, for different magazines. These are for Sports Illustrated. This thing on LeBron. This one's on Derek Jeter up by Yankee Stadium. And it's not like, wow, the lighting's cool, but it's lit to death. Like if he's standing without lighting, it wouldn't look like anything, really. He's in the dugout and the light's great. And I had the wooden camera. I shot this with that. And he looked at me and he said, hey man, what's a camera like that cost? Like 50,000? It's like, for you today, cash? Sure. Like, that really, is that like the first number? I don't know. Maybe when you're him, that's it. These are for ESPN. ESPN is a little edgier, so you can like do things a little differently. So this is Tiger. This is on a little practice putting green, but kind of bigger than life. This was Mike Ditka and Ricky Williams. I'm from Chicago. Ditka was coach for the Bears for a million years. He's kind of a jerk. But he was actually almost like expressing his desire for Ricky Williams. And the magazine had the idea of doing like a American Gothic. That picture was like, well, what does that have to do with them, really? I think it should be like an absolutely beautiful wedding portrait, like touching, like a very beautiful portrait. And we shot in New Orleans and got a place like a venue for that, on 8x10. Ditka was cool as long as he wasn't wearing the dress. And we actually found something off the rack for Ricky, which is great, right? And this was just like a moment where Ditka looked at him, and like 2 frames, I shot like, again, 10 frames maybe on 8x10. And the next one after this, I think it was, he said, I don't know if I feel comfortable with this. And I just said, it's a little late. A little late. So we stopped, but that was it. But again, the lighting is lighting, but it's like, well, romantic. It's coming in that feels like sun. It's kind of that, right? Dale Earnhardt Jr. and he's on a racetrack, and his car didn't show up for the picture, so we're standing there, and it's getting dark. And I set up lighting that just looks like it would be light that comes from those things that are there, right? In the movie business, they call those practicals. Practicals, any light that's actually in the frame. And they have a term called motivating a practical. When you do that, you do your lighting so that it looks like the practicals are doing the work, in a way, right? So that's kind of what this is. And it's nothing fancy, it's fine. And I'd set my camera down, it's one of those ones you look in from the top, on the track for a sec, and I came back and looked down, and it looked like that, right? Because he's standing straight, and I just thought, whoa, let's do that. Again, like you get a gift, like if the car had shown up, I would never have taken this picture. And instead of thinking, ah, darn it, the car, shit, it's just like, okay, well, let's do this. And that's the one that they ran as the cover, and the truth is the car showed up and it didn't have any gas. So there you go. This guy's like, what's his name? Tyrell Owens. And this guy has muscles in places people don't even have muscles to have places to have muscles in. And this was shot in a locker room, right? It was shot in an NFL locker room. And I want to be a studio picture, and so I had an idea, and this is how to show him off. This one, and I'm just like nuts, right? The guy looks amazing. And of course they cropped it to this for the cover. Like if I'd handed that in, they would never hire me again. Well, it's too tight, we can't do anything with it. But that's what they did, it's fine. The Alonzo Mourning, this is for ESPN. They ended up running it as a vertical spread, which they never do. Like Sports Illustrated just wouldn't run that picture. It's not the kind of thing they do, you know? And I'd photographed him once before. He's a great looking guy, and I just thought, well, there's no reason for it. This is lighting that you do because you just want to do it and it's fun. And he looks great with that. White people don't look good with blue gels. They look like poached fish. It's like a sad thing. But on him, it was great, right? And I had done an 8x10 Polaroid, set it up in my studio, made very careful notes, measured everything. We get to the arena, wherever it was, and we're set up in a hallway. It's a cinder block wall. And we have a drawing and a measuring. We set it up. And the first picture looked like the picture that we had done, for sure. And he walked in and saw the Polaroid, and he's like, can you guys hang for an hour? And he wanted to go get his head like freshly shaved for the picture. You know, and it's cool. But this doesn't have anything to do with the sheriff pictures. They're portraits. It's just like, why would I put gels on the sheriffs? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a different thing. This is Shaq, who's fun to shoot. He's like a big kid, very big kid. And the idea is like, you know, some people love you, some people hate you. So these are trained dogs in LA. The one lifting his leg is actually a female dog that's been trained to lift its leg. And that's just a fun picture. That's fine. This was before Giuliani went nuts. This is just when, this one like everybody just despised him. But he wasn't crazy. It's after 9/11. For me, that was a really big, I don't even know what to say. It's like, for those of us who are old enough, you remember the day that Kennedy was assassinated, right? Like, so this was that day, and I saw it out the window of my studio. My studio's like maybe a mile north of Ground Zero, and I was putting on my pants at home. I lived like a block away, and just, you noted, I heard a plane that sounded too close, just sounded weird, but I didn't even think anything of it. And I walk downstairs and go outside with my pants on, and it's just like a morning, September crisp morning in Manhattan. There's like the bagel vendors out, and everything's fine. And you can't see it, like you don't know, right? And I go upstairs on the 8th floor of this loft building, and the big windows that face right, like that, right out at the World Trade Center. You see them every day. And it was surreal, like one of them's on fire, right? And you can't believe it. I actually had an intern from Brazil. It was her first day there. She was there with my assistant. They're both standing at the window. And I said, what's up? And they're like, and we're standing there. And while we're standing there, the second plane hit, watching it, and then the towers fell, right? And you can't even imagine what that is. And the poor woman, she turned around, walked out, and never came back. She went back to Brazil. That was like her day in New York. That was it for her. But I can't describe what it was like to be there, but everything changed. I mean, everything. I have a friend who lived a block away. Her husband would go running through the World Trade Plaza every morning. He had just gone for his run. She had 2 little kids. And she heard it. She went downstairs. Dad was at work. She gathered up her kids and just started running up the West Side Highway. And her daughter, who was like 3 maybe, looked up and said, Mommy, the birds are on fire. And she looked up and it was people jumping. Right. Yeah, like crazy. And when everything collapsed, it was like people worry about asbestos. That was 200 stories of asbestos vaporized like in the air at that moment. And you hear about all the first responders who got sick. It's like they weren't going to shut down Lower Manhattan indefinitely. Somebody made a call, like stock exchange has to stay open. We have to. There's going to be we have to do this. Somebody made a call, right? And you could smell it all in the air. It was there for weeks. And we had a bunch of people that came and stayed with us, all that. So when they called me to do this, it's their person of the year. It was man of the year, and now it's person of the year. He was like the creature of the year, biped of the year or something. And all they said was, we need a picture of Giuliani in New York. Just something figured out. And generally all the editorial things I do is come down, I was talking about, they'll just say, we need a picture of so-and-so, see you Tuesday. That's it, which is great, right? I've never gotten like a Sharpie sketch or anything like that, right? And people, I'll be honest, like people would say back for advertising, they'd say we want an Andy Leibovitz picture of such and such, and I would put up her number on my phone and say, I think you should call her. I like her work a lot. I think she's great. You should call her, for sure. It's great. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I mean. Like, do that and then do yours. And I said, well, I don't look good in stripes. I can't go to prison. I have kids. Like, no. Like, I'm not going to. You should call her. She's great. You know, I'm sure it's fine. She's probably too expensive for you or not available, but you should call her. It's fine. That's fine. It is, you know. But I never did that. They would just say, here's the thing, which is great. And like I said, I take that really seriously. So for the person of the year, usually I've gotten calls from Time where literally I got called on a Friday to shoot something Friday night that's on newsstands Monday, like really fast, like that. There's a picture of here Michael Moore, the director, that was like that. This thing was like a week and a half or something ahead of time. And before I started doing their person of the year covers were always, unless they were news photographs, they were always artwork. It could be a sculpture, it could be a painting, always. And they would always back it up. They'd have several different folks do their solution to it. But they would just call me and that was it. So again, it has to work. So I took it obviously really seriously, 9/11, and I looked at Lower Manhattan from everywhere. Like, I looked at it from Jersey, I looked at it from the Staten Island Ferry, I looked at it from Governor's Island, from all Brooklyn. But the fact is, with the towers, without the towers, it looked like Milwaukee, like it could have been anywhere, right? And it wasn't like, oh, that's the whole point. It's like, nah, it wasn't New York anymore, right? So I was really thinking about it, and I thought, we'll shoot at Ground Zero. That's what we'll just shoot, because everybody remembers the twisted remains of what was there, right? We'll do that. And his office said, no, the mayor feels it's too self-aggrandizing. It's sacred ground. It's like he's happy to look like Batman, that's okay, but like being there was too self-aggrandizing. So So anyway, I had shot here before. It's the top of Rockefeller Center. And it used to be the RCA building, then it was the GE building. But anyway, there's a restaurant floor down. So I looked at that. And what was good about it is you were still in the city. You weren't like looking down on it. And not everything is below you, and the Empire State Building's there. And kind of, he's sort of blocking what you would see the World Trade Center would be, sort of. And I always am really careful about stuff. And he's standing on the parapet, which is probably, I don't know, 4.5 feet high. Probably be like this, a little higher maybe. So if he's standing against it and I'm shooting him, from here down is just like bricks. So that's not very interesting, right? And I would try, like I do, is it a headshot? Is it here? Is it full length? Like, what is it, really? And you don't need a headshot of Rudy. Don't really need that. And basically, he's a white guy in a suit. So it's, you know, not like shooting Brad Pitt or something. It's like, he's a guy. The important thing was like the context, the whole feeling of it, right? And so I hopped up there because I thought if I could get him up there, and if I was up, then I could see down as well. So I got up and I stood up there. I always go where my person's going to be. That's a big thing at school, is you can't call the person your subject because that's bad. And it's like, well, they're not like my subject, like I'm the king. They're like the subject of the picture, like the subject of the book. Right? Like, that's okay. Really, it's fine. So anyway, but I want to feel what they're going to feel like. Is the light too squinty? Is it okay? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it weird? Like, what's it like for them? And I stood up there, and it's only this high, but I don't like heights. And my eyeball, I'm 6 feet tall, my eyeballs are at 10 feet, and they don't like being at 10 feet. And it's solid, and it's only this high above here, but behind you, it's like 70 stories pretty much. There's like a terrace 2 stories down, but you take a pretty good bounce and then keep going, I think. So I felt like I didn't want him to not do it. That'd be bad. And so what I did is I actually had these guys make a platform that's like 12 by 12 feet that ends just out of frame. It's like here. So when you're standing there, it's nothing. You just feel like you can do that. It's not like you have to go down a rickety ladder or like you're surfing or something. So that's what I did. And it's a whole longer story about it, but that's kind of how it ran as a cover. And that was the setup, right? You can see that platform there. And he's there, and it's with an 8x10 camera. And the reason for the 8x10 camera is it's a wide angle. It'd be like shooting with a 20 or 24. If you shoot somebody full length with a 20 or 24, everything's in focus. It just is. Everything's in focus, pretty much. And I wanted to be able to selectively do the focus. I wanted it to be him and kind of the Empire State Building, and for other stuff to go out. So if you look to the right, it's like f1.2, and if you look to the left, it's like f16, sort of, right? And nobody should care about it, really. It's just, I thought it was important. So, and also, he's not lit with an octabank. And if you're 70 stories up, there ain't no light above you. You're 70 stories up. All lights come from below, right? So you could say it's monster lighting, but for like Rudy, that's okay. But it isn't. It's like that's where lighting's coming from. And I was trying to motivate the practical. The practicals in this case are all the lights in all the windows in New York, pretty much. And back in the day, I would have filtered that so they wouldn't be green, right? Fluorescent lights. Except for this, it just felt like noxious, sort of. You know, it doesn't feel like, a great sunset. It was like, this doesn't feel so good. And there was that feeling in Lower Manhattan for a long time. It just didn't feel good at all. So I felt like that was cool. And they don't run pictures like that on time. And it was cool to have it be there. That meant a lot to me. Right? And then I did this picture actually earlier than that one. Right? You can say earlier in the day. It was actually sunny. And then the clouds moved in from New Jersey. The bad weather always comes from Jersey. And like 45 minutes, an hour later, it was clouded over and started raining. But this was the optimistic, like New York resilience coming back. That was Rudy at this moment. And the lighting in that makes no sense because there is only one sun as far as I know, and it just set, sort of. But it's fine. It's just like a picture and it's fine. I don't think about it too much, like fine. So that was fine. So these, I'll just whip through them. This is, the only reason I'm showing this was at his house in Chappaqua, north of New York. It's just in his house, but I just wanted to be simple, and I wanted to have him be happy and talking and kind of like that. So And the thing that's great about the big camera is it's hard to have a conversation with somebody. If you're talking like this, you know, come up to your face, it's kind of hard. And with a medium format camera, if you're talking into your shoes because you're looking down, that can be hard. But when the camera's on the tripod next to you, like you do all the looking and figuring out, but then when it comes time to take the picture, well, you're just talking to somebody. The camera's, it's giant, it's just over here, right? So now you can really connect with somebody really well, and that's what that was about, right? And that it was cool for that. It's funny because you wouldn't think of a camera like that as spontaneous, but it can be. It's cool. Boy, I'm almost out of time. Jeez, okay. 5 minutes, oh my God. I have 173 slides to go on. Sorry. Oh boy. This is Jodie, just directed her first movie. Again, like time doesn't run blue covers, but it's like, well, that's what it would look like in a movie theater. We shot in a movie theater. And it's motivating the practicals, right? There's the beam of the light, from the projector. I put some smoke there. There's the little lights going up the steps. And she's really great at doing what she does. And she pretended she was watching her movie, right? And the lighting would be coming from the movie screen, so instead of using an Octabank, get this, I bounced the light off the movie screen, right? I mean, that's like what it would be. She was funny. She actually said she wanted to have the glasses. Now that she's a director, she said, whenever I play a hooker, no glasses. If I'm a lawyer or a doctor, always glasses. I get like 30 IQ points for the glasses, sort of thing. There's stories about all these. But anyway, this was after he came out with The Rising, his album, after 9/11, whole story behind that. This was a Person of the Year thing on philanthropy that was Bono and Bill Melinda Gates. A whole story, long story about that. And this kind of thing that Dan and Joe both talked about, I had them for like 30 minutes, and I had to do 7 setups in 30 minutes in a room like this. So it's basically 7 little mini studios ready to go. And you just go from this to this to this to this. It's very quick. But it's all good, like that. This is Michael Moore after he did his Fahrenheit. And I got the call literally at 11 in the morning. They needed the film on a Friday by the end of the day, and it was for a Monday close. And I just threw a bunch of stuff in a truck, went up to Midtown to where his production offices were. And it wasn't even his name on the door. It was like some company had been there before, like Amalgamated Collar State or some company. And his assistant said, oh, come right in, that's fine. And it's just a lot of people scurrying around and video cassettes around. And he said, oh, I'll show you to Michael's office. And it was this corner office, kind of dumpy though. And there's a big desk and like an extra little table that had like editing stuff on it and like a little love seat, right? And the guy said, you can do anything you want in here. And it's like, wow, anything? It's like, you have to sort of walk around like that. And ended up flipping up the love seat and shooting in the footprint of the love seat, literally is all it was. But the light's just a little teeny light, nothing fancy. And he's a big dude, and I didn't want his big dudeness to come off. I just wanted his face. And I feel like some people love him and some people don't. I think he feels for sure like he's very patriotic and sincere for sure. So that's what I want to get across. And the magazine said, see if you can like wrap him in a flag or something like that. So on the way up, I'm thinking, I don't know. And I stopped at like the Army Navy surplus store and got like the school flag size flag. And one of my assistants was a vet, and he knew how to fold the flag, right? Like in circumstance, that's what they call it, the way they'll present it to a family if soldiers died. So, but that's this. And I didn't want to show that much of him. And there's a little, like an antique store around the corner from my studio that I'd been in the week before, and they had these little fabric flags. They were older ones. And I sent the guy down to pick up one of those, and he folded it perfectly, and now it became this very precious, like offering almost. And that allowed the picture to like really come in and just focus on that. But that's like, I had no idea what that was going to be at 11 in the morning, and at 5 o'clock they had film. And that's like quick. This is David Lynch when he did Twin Peaks. He was really being talked about a lot. There's all kinds of stuff going on with him. Pictures, because he looks super normal, but he's really weird. So I pictures him with like a chainsaw or skinning a dead mouse or whatever, all kinds of stuff going on with his weirdness. And I thought it'd be cool if the weirdness came from him. So it's a double exposure. And one he's looking at the camera and one he's looking away. It's in camera. And I just thought the color would like clue you in that he actually doesn't do that. And again, time wouldn't really run that as a thing, but it was cool for him. I wouldn't do that with Michael Moore. right? I wouldn't do it for Jodie Foster. It seemed right for him. And I've never done it again. I sort of have ADD photography stuff. Like if I actually do it, I don't ever want to do it again, in a way. This is Jackie Joyner Kersey, shot in the gymnasium. This is the only unretouched picture, actually, of George, but you'd be surprised. They usually would never let you see the other face. No, that's not true. They assigned this, and they wanted to get a sense, a dichotomy, like they felt like he was domestically strong in international foreign policy, but weak domestically. And they just wanted to get some sense of that. And I thought this would be a good solution to it. And both, like I think he looks great in both faces, like they could be on a coin. I mean, it's not picking his nose. It's like a very carefully crafted picture. And there's a whole long thing about how we did that. It's on one piece of film. It looks just like that. There's nothing going on. And when it came out, there was a big thing, and I was banned from the White House till the Clintons came in. I went back to shoot him like a month later for LA Times, and my crew and everybody else, and the guy checked my thing, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Archer, your clearance has been pulled." And it's like, I paid my taxes. I thought it was like, okay. And he said, "I'll run it through again, sir." And it's like, nope, not. That was it. And I went back there to shoot Hillary, and it's like that movie, what was it called? The Butler. Remember that Forrest Whitaker was in it? And he plays the guy who's like been there for years. And he said, "Hey, good to see you back," because I always wore my bow tie and stuff. And I said, "Yeah," I started, they were mad. And he says, "Oh, they come and they go. Don't worry about it. It's good." It's like almost for him. But, so this guy, Dr. Ho, is the leading AIDS researcher. And like, how do you do that? He's some little dude in a white lab coat, right? So he was the person here, and I wanted it to be like my, aunt is going to look at it and go like, "Wow, what's that?" Right? So I got this photo micrograph picture of a AIDS virus and asked his assistant if he had a spare pair of glasses, and I had actual mirrors put in. And he's standing like with his face an inch away, and I showed him a test shot, and it was like, yeah. And it was fine. It was fine for that. This is the square boob picture. This is Michael Phelps. And this was in Stanford out there. We couldn't get a pool because they were training. And again, I got the call on Friday to go out there on Monday to shoot a Monday night. Couldn't get the pool, so I found a backdrop that just is painted with swirls and used the 8x10 camera so I could throw it out of focus selectively so it looks like it's receding. And again, I could light him with an octabank or something. But the idea is like I want him to look like he's being lit by pool light, like it's at night, right? A, because it anchors him into the background, and B, because we get to see his boobs and they look great. And that was part of it, is that, that kind of thing. There's so many more of these. I'll just zip through really quick. These are GQ things that were really fun to do. I'll go really fast. These, they're cool, they're fun. This I'll touch on just because it's a really early picture I did in Singapore, and it's available light. And what I love about it is none of the colors correct. And it's all about warms and cools. And when it comes to gels and strobes and all that kind of stuff, what you see more of than anything else in life is warms and cools. And that, to me, was a big thing, and I've used that so often in pictures. I shot this on my phone a week and a half ago of a jeweler, a guy we went to look for wedding rings, actually. And a big thing in lighting that I'll go someplace, and the first thing I do is shut off the lights and see what's left before I start doing anything. And I shut off his overhead fluorescent lights, and that's what was left. And it was like, wow, that's the picture, that's cool. Super easy. Shot that one and that one. Like, didn't do anything, just shut off the overhead lights. They're fine. With iPhone, it's fine. Right? And that one. This one I'll show you. It's the first time I used flash after that lowriders thing in Australia. It's noon. We're out in West Australia. This lady's the only person left in this asbestos mining town, but I didn't want to shoot the picture then. I was hoping like after a rainstorm when the sun comes out at the last minute, that kind of thing. Sort of like that. On these screens, it's way too saturated, just so you know, it's less. But that's a flash, right? It's like a minute after this was this. So that's like you get to do your own reality, which to me was really great. This is using a Canon 600 RT speedlight. I was teaching a workshop out in Palm Springs, and this is a bar where people are doing hard drinking at 9 in the morning, and we go out there, and lighting a bar is the worst, right? You don't want to put a lot of light in a bar. You just see cigarette stains and vomit stains and stuff. And so what do? Where does light go? and there was a door that went out to the parking lot, and I thought, that's the thing, is I'll look and see where could light be coming from? Where might light be coming from here? So there was that door, and the speed light's sitting like 10 feet outside the door. It doesn't have a softbox. Ain't no softboxes outside. It's the sun, man. So I just put a gel on it and shine it through the door and kind of place the people so that it hit them. And the guy's one of the students with the cowboy hat. He's just silhouetted. But like, it's enough. It's just enough. And yet it's nothing. It fits in your camera bag. You know, I mean, it's like 24 to 70, speed light in a camera bag. It's fine. Doesn't have to be crazy. This was the same idea as in Dubai. And there was this amazing place. It's all glass and mirrors and windows. Like, where do you put your light? And you want to shoot wide because you want to see the space. The thing had a glass floor. We were like 4 or 6 stories up. And I put a flash. I just had a guy go down and stand on the ground with it and shoot it straight up, and we'll just see what we get. And that's what we got. That was literally the first picture looked like that. And it's like, well, that's kind of cool, right? That's fine. There's no recipe for that. There's no anything for that. This is supposed to look like a point-and-shoot camera. So there's that. I'll keep. We'll do more later. Oh, this one for Sports Illustrated. This is the biggest group picture I ever did. It was like 2,000 or 3,000 people on the finish line of the Boston Marathon a year after the bombing. They wanted to do a cover. These are just folks from the city. I scouted the day before, and it's great sunlight, except I think it's the libraries on the left, so there's no light hitting where we need it. And I was working with 2 assistants I'd never met before. That's what happens now I'm at school. I don't have my posse anymore. And we went to a rental place. I just rented 1 light. And they're looking at each other like they're watching a guy walk slowly back the cliff and not saying anything. Like, this dude thinks he's going to light it with 1 light. And again, I just want it to be like one sun. So it's back way. And this is not, the picture's supposed to look at resilience, and we're bouncing back, and it's great. This is not happy light. To me, that's happy light. That's better. It's 1 light. It's way back. It's coming from the same direction as that building in the background. It's kind of a quick solution, but it's fine. And this, yeah, we'll stop. We'll stop. There's more to come, but we'll do more. I'll see you soon. Now I'm going to show you the other half. No, I'm not. Can you hear okay if I talk loud? Is that all right? Okay. If anybody can't see stuff and you just want to scoot up, I think feel free for sure. It's important that you folks see it. It's not going to be minute detail. I have to say, when I saw the stage, I thought it'd be so awesome to just shoot like a still life of a wedding ring. Like I'd be huddled over some little table there, right? And it's like nobody knows what's going on. He's so perfect in here. So this is kind of like the lighting section of the program, right? And I don't think of lighting as lighting. I just think of it as light. So like I was saying, I teach at Syracuse University at the Newhouse School. And what's important to me is that, let's say you are a straight up, serious as a heart attack, reportage photographer, right? And to me, what that means is you are shooting things that are happening that you cannot change. Like, I think of sports as the ultimate, like, you can't ask somebody to run the bases again. You know, it's like, excuse me, can I put my light? I'm like, no, you're photographing anything that's happening, right? That's like, everybody would know that that's what that is. But it seems to me that if what you do is work like that, and there's a million varieties of it, I think you really need to understand light, because you can't bring in lights. You can't have somebody move closer to the light. You get like it's like, I'd call it like triangulation. Like, there's the person you're photographing, there's wherever the light's coming from, and there's you. And the only thing in that instance that you can control, if you can control it, is like where you are, right? So depending on when you are, you could have the person front lit, back lit, this way, that way, depending on where you are. And there are really great photographers who can kind of walk into a room or space, and it's like that. They're just like, beep, 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 beep. I need to be here, sort of. You know, and that's like a thing, for sure. And that will separate sometimes the picture from the other pictures. It just does, you know. So then you really need to know your light. In terms of lighting, which is sort of like what tends to get people gummed up a little bit, because there's a technical component to it for sure. There's a million ways to teach it, and again, this is just my thing. I say that for everything. Like, these are my opinions, I could be wrong about everything. It's like, fine. as a student, I know what worked for me, and I'm trying always hard to do the good things as a teacher. So rather than, and it's not wrong to do it, but rather than teaching it as, this is how you shoot an executive, this is how you shoot Taylor Swift, this is how you shoot a meatloaf, this is how you shoot, there's high-tech lighting and this lighting, and a really dear friend of mine taught it at RIT, and his thing is, this is lighting for girls and lighting for boys. It's like, okay. I get asked every year, at least one student says, how do you light black people? I get it every year. And I'm not being funny, I say I open up a stop. Like, what kind of question is that, man? It's like, if the light's right, it's right. It is, right? Like the light is right, then you are represented accurately as who you are. I wouldn't change it. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's like a funny thing with that, and I just feel like, I don't know. I sort of don't know what that is. So I just think of lighting as like the continuum of lighting and all its magic, sort of like that. And I would not think of it as, here's how you light this and here's how you light that, which is okay, right? And when you're learning stuff, it's like recipes, right? Like, here's how you make a meatloaf, here's how you make German chocolate cake, here's how you make, right? That's all fine. And people cook from recipes all the time. And not everybody wants to be like a chef who invents new dishes. You just want to like make the good thing. Recipes are great for that. And I think if you're learning, it's great too. And you can look up a thing for how to shoot an executive portrait, and there's a lighting diagram, and you can do it just fine, right? It's fine until it's not fine, right? It's fine until you get to the thing where like it's not working and you don't know why. That's bad. Or if you want to switch it up and you don't understand it, like, what do you switch? Like, what's the thing that's messing you? Like, what would you do, right? And again, when you're doing recipes, then at best you will make it as good as the person that made the recipe. It's not going to be yours, right? But again, there's nothing wrong with that, right? We're all earning a living. Like, if you could just make the thing happen quickly and good and repeatedly, that's good. I do that. There's a lot to be said for that, right? That's like being a professional. That's okay. I had a conversation with Nate, a month ago or something, and I was saying like the way I would teach lighting, if I were teaching cooking, I wouldn't say, here's how you make a meatloaf. I would sort of be like, here's what heat does. Here's what oil does. Here's what salt does. And kind of like start to think of it that way, so when you're actually eating something, you get a sense of what it is that you're tasting or what would happen if you did more of that, sort of like that with lighting. So that's kind of what this is. I'm going to show you how to light an executive portrait. Not because I'm holding out. It's like, this is a million years ago, I told a friend of mine who had to shoot it, was his first CEO. And he said, I think it's in a dark wood paneled office. And it's like, oh, I've done that, So I actually told him and drew him a diagram of where lights go. And the next day, totally didn't know it was going to I had to shoot in a room like that, and it didn't work. And I felt terrible, right? It's like, oh my God, I just gave him the bad thing. So I feel like it's not about that. And there's nothing, again, I keep saying this, but I'm not making excuses. Like, you could live an entire good life using an Octabank for everything, and it will look good for sure. There's nothing wrong. That's like fine. It just, yeah, and that's okay. You can do that. It's a good thing. But that means your work will be limited to doing that, but it's okay. You could do that. And usually when people say, oh, I'm an available light specialist, because they don't know how to do the other stuff. I mean, that's just, okay, yeah, all right, sure. So that's fine. And I'd rather show my students how to do everything, and if they say that's great, I don't ever want to see one of those again in my whole life, great. You tried it, you've seen it. If 5 years from now you're in a thing you think like, oh, what was that thing Heisler was talking about that I didn't listen to? You could try and figure it out then, that's fine. But at least you're doing it from a standpoint of, I saw it, I used it, not for me. Totally cool, like so cool, that's great. So, a couple things are gonna happen now. I'll try to do it as quickly as I can. One thing is I do wanna show you just a couple things that I didn't get to. So at the university, I do demonstrate like this for students in a class. And I did a couple things recently. And I thought they were interesting from a lighting standpoint, and it is that kind of thing. And I gave them to the person who's our communications person, who's like, oh, I've never seen that, I've been here for 20 years. So he was happy, that's great. And I just want to show them to you because I think it's neat, and it is the lighting thing, and it's nothing crazy. So the lighting class, my class, would go through stages. In a sense, like the first third of the semester is seeing light, like recognizing it, and starting to go, oh, okay, that's cool, I get it, because that's kind of doing that thing. That's good. And you start to like, just start noticing it more, right? The second thing is sort of seeing it and wondering what it would be if you stood over here, or what it would be if you came back in an hour and a half later, and starting to actually be able to imagine what that might be, right? And that takes practice, and it's a good thing to do too. I'll show you a little of that. And the third thing would be walk into a room and think, oh, I could imagine what it would look like if that garage door was open and the light was pouring in from there. What would the room look like if I did that? What would the room look like if we turned off all these lights and did an exposure for 5 minutes so this thing lit the room? What would that look like? You know, I mean, you start thinking, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do that. Kind of like that, right? And there's a million ways to do that. So, but it's in stages. Like one is just seeing what's there and recognizing it. The second one is like, okay, where could I be and how would that change it? And the third thing would be, if I wanted to bring something in, what would I do and why would I do it and what would it look like, right? And even with portraits, there's a million ways to do portraits. Like I'm Mr. Squaresville when it comes to, in a way, because I wouldn't take a portrait of somebody that I wouldn't want taken of me, right? So that means there's lots of good pictures I'm never going to shoot. That's just honest. You know what I mean? Like it would be a cool picture. I can't do it. Somebody will do it. I can't do it. Not like stabbing somebody in the back, but like, yeah, you look like, I know, it's what it's going to be. I'm probably not going to do that, right? I respect people who do it. I don't think it's a bad thing. Not my thing. I do have, for me, when I'm doing reports, like a 2-week rule, retouching rule. Like if it wasn't there 2 weeks ago and it's not going to be there 2 weeks from now, I'll take it out. Do you know what I mean? But if it's something that probably is there, I'll just ask you. Like, is it cool? Is it not cool? Just, you know, and we talk about it, it's great. And just as a little thing, because we were talking about earlier with working with people, a really big deal I find is there are 5 words that work for me all the time. As soon as I meet somebody and we're about to get a picture, I just say, I really need your help with this. I really need your help. And people are always like, oh, they listen up. And they, all of a sudden, it's not like something's being done to them. Like, oh, sure, oh, okay, that kind of thing, right? Even the jerk CEO person says, I gotta be out of here in 10 minutes. It's like, I'll have you out of here in 5, but I really need your help. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So that helps a lot. I've almost never had that not work. Really helps. That's one thing. The second thing is, and I think Dan spoke about this, is being not arrogant, but very confident. Like, here's the plan. We're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, and it'll be fine. And at 10:45, we're good. Right? And they're like, oh, okay, that's good, that's cool. Otherwise, they wonder, like, am I done yet? Is it ever going to be done? What's going on? So I just lay it out. That's fine. And the other thing is to be just confident, even if you're just faking it, but it's better if you're not. Like, we've all had the opportunity of going to a doctor. I think women especially have this thing where they just touch you funny. Not get arrested funny, but just, it doesn't feel right. It's tentative, right? If you're like that with people, it makes them feel ooky. And you could have somebody who literally comes up and grabs your head and says, if you could just move this way, and it's like, okay, cool, I'll do it. Where someone else would be like, well, if you could, that kind of thing, like, get your hands off me. It's weird, right? And I think people are real cool with that. Even like literally the President of the United States, in those minutes, he's in your hands, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's really hoping for the best. Really just hoping it's going to be okay. You know, so people really feel happy that you kind of seem okay. That's like a really great thing. There is a really well-known photographer, whose name I will not say, who does really good pictures. And he's very technically, like, guy's great. And the lighting's beautiful. Not a lot of heartbeat, I would say, but they're good. And his thing is, he never talks to the people. He's a Swiss guy, and it's like, no, it's enough for me, I don't do it. They come, they sit, I never say, it's their job to fill the space, not mine. It's like, you go, dude. can't imagine how weird, right? But like, that's his thing. Like, that's cool. Everybody has their way. Do you know, Annie used to say she put on music because she never knew what to say. She'd crank up the music. You know, it's like, I can't do that in the studio or anywhere. I put on music like, what? Raise your head. What? It's like, I can't do it. If I want to dance, I'll do it when you leave. Like, I just can't do that. But sometimes I'm at the dentist, and the one that has music, it's better. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Anyway, so I'll show you this. This will be quick. These are quick, but it's just kind of a good thing. Play from current slide. Tell me if you can see this. Maybe could we kill the overheads for this thing? Anybody's doing the overhead? I'll put this up now. This is good. We're in control. It's great. There it is. Okay. Can you see that? I will describe it. If you can't move, I just want you to see this. So quickly, it's a picture I did for a TV movie. It's William H. Macy. And I was only going to get them for 10 minutes. He and Kiki, I can't remember her last name offhand. And I had to shoot two things. One looked like day, one looked like night, right? So I had lights set up for both things. This is the daytime one. And it's not supposed to look too slick. It's supposed to look pretty legit. That's daytime, and this one was nighttime, and it was shot 5 minutes later. They just unplugged some lights, plugged in other lights. They were ready to go. Right, so it's a different color palette. It's a different thing. And it's not based on beauty dishes and Octobanks. It's like, I live in New York. I know what that looks like. Like, what would the light look like, right? What would the light look like, you know, at noon, whatever, like that, and what does the light look like there? And that's fine. It's not portrait lighting. It's lighting for the scene. And what's cool about it, and I thought you'd get a kick out of seeing this, was neat, is where we were shooting was that. It's literally just like a two flat little crappy set on a stage like this, a big sound stage, right? But it's the light that creates all the atmosphere and the feeling. Like, it could be this or it could be that. That's totally your choice. So I think that's fun. A totally different thing that I wanted to show you was this. There's two of these. One of my colleagues, Rosanna Grassi, was like dean of student something or other at the school. She's like late 70s, maybe 80, and was finally retiring, the sweetest person ever, devoted to the students, and I'd be working late a lot at night, and she'd always be there if I was there. It was like burn the midnight oil. And I saw her with the course catalog one night. It was like midnight. And I said, Rosanna, what are you doing? It's midnight. What is that? And she said, oh, it's like their Bible for the students, Greg. I mean, she really just, with her whole heart. So she was retiring, and they were going to give her like a gold watch or something. And I thought she should have a picture. It would just be cool for her. Just to do it, just for fun. And she's not going to want a headshot. Didn't want to, you know, I didn't ask her, but I know she's not going to want that. She's very humble as a person. And I thought I'll do like an environmental picture in her office. I'd never been to her office. It was around the corner from mine. I just hadn't gone in. And I go in, and it, oh my God, it looked like somebody opened every file cabinet drawer and took a leaf blower. And just like, you can't, it looked like that scene from A Beautiful Mind. It's like, oh my God, like this is, I can't do it. She could probably pluck out the right piece of paper in a minute, but it was terrifying to see. And so I thought, there's this balcony that goes around the building. It's an IMPA, but it was his first educational commission. Was this building at Syracuse, and these are the two most iconic buildings. It's the one I'm in is this one. And this one, it was the first building built on campus. It's called the Hall of Languages. And so I thought it'd be cool if I could somehow get both in the picture, because it'd be like bookending her time, something like that. So I went out on that terrace, and that's her office. And she'd be in a bigger picture. I thought it'd be cool. But this is the thing of like, scout the thing, figure out what it is, and then think of what could the lighting be? Like, what time of day would I shoot it? What would I want the lighting to be? So that's what it was, and this is the picture that I did later that day, right? So it's like, I didn't use anything bigger than a Canon 600 RT speed light. That's what we used, speed lights. And she's there. And she's in the picture. She's doing what she would always do, which is go through the stuff. It's a whole long thing about that. But it's really a pretty simple picture. It's easy, you know. And I gave her this big print at her retirement thing. And people asked, like, oh, did you know he was out there? Like, they thought it was a Canon picture. That's great. So that's one kind of picture, right? And she came out afterwards to see what we were doing. And I showed her on the computer, and she walked up. Watch out for this thing. And she said, you see this window right here? This was my first office 40 years ago. So it was literally like that was her whole career there, which was just so cool. And it makes me happy that she has that. So that was one. And the one I did before this was just a class demo. This is Newhouse, that's the school. The older building is another iconic building, it's the music school. And the juxtaposition is kind of cool. And I walk by this every day like this to the parking lot. And I thought it'd be so cool to do something at night. Would look cool. So we did it, again, as a class thing, just for fun. This is what it looks like. But this is the picture we did at night. And it's just cool to see it that way, right? And it doesn't look like somebody did crazy lighting. It just looks like how your eyes might see it, you know? But there's a lot going on. It's like sorry, I moved a thing up here, there's desk, he plays bass, it's there. Like, there's gels going on, but it doesn't look jelly. There's a lot, right? And all the remote things for the strobes that weren't working, so I literally had a voice-activated remote, which my cell phone, I go, now! And the guy was flashing. But I feel like these are cool for what they are. It's sort of like a portrait and an architectural picture, kinda. And it's kind of a fun thing like that. And these aren't great, they're just good fun things to do. I had to do a picture of this guy who's the IT guy, who's the bane of everybody's life. He's a nice person, he's just tough to work with, Brian. And a magazine called, like a trade magazine, they were doing a feature on him to do a thing. And they weren't looking like, oh, we need Heisler's vision. It's like it saved him an airfare. I was there, I think that's all it was. And so here he is, you know, he's fine. He hasn't bought a new sport coat in 30 years. Can't close the one he has, but he doesn't care, it's like fine, you know, it's fine. But he's not gonna like that picture, and they're not gonna like the picture. And I had to show him with these screens that they just installed. So it's a matter of how do you have him be, and how do you take the weight off his shoulders so it's a cool picture. So I messed around, and sort of the picture was, it's way lighter on here, I'm sorry to say, but, or is it not? Yeah, it's kind of like this, a little darker, but basically that's it. And the lighting's not complicated. It's a speed light, like up here, lighting him, that's it. And nothing, and the rest is the room, right? It's just one little light, and it's doing what the lights do. You can see those little lights in the ceiling, it feels like that. There's no octabanks, there's no nothing. It's far away, it's cool. So that's a super easy picture, super, super easy. And what they did, which makes me ill, that's what you do, is they cropped it like this, so it actually looks like 5 pictures stuck together. I was like so irritated. The whole point was sort of incorporating it with the architecture, because that's what it's about. Anyway, that's that. And the last thing of this is just shot a picture. We have a military program, which is great. The DoD sends like 20, 30 students a year to Newhouse to kind of learn all about lighting and photography, and they're from units called Combat Camera. And they're from Afghanistan, different places that they've been deployed. They come for a year, and then they go out and they're like the evangelists who then teach other soldiers how to do it. And they're great. First of all, they're different from every civilian student because like they've done their own laundry before. I mean, they're grown-ups. And you could, like, you see these people, you wouldn't look twice past them in the street, and they've seen things you can't imagine. And they could probably kill you just by looking at you. I mean, they're like amazing. But they're super fun, and they work really hard. So I just want to do like a picture for them for graduation. This is a new veterans center they just built. And again, it was kind of incorporating the architecture of the place in them. Just for fun. For no other reason than just for fun did it, right? So that was fun. And then when I was there, this was all happened in like 30 minutes. I thought I should do a little like heroic headshot of each person. Again, just to have it. And gave them the files just to do it. Like I have my day job, they pay me, it's fine. So I did these, and they're like, it's just like a heroic, nice, if your mom or your dad wants that, it's fine. So I gave me these, they literally stood in for like 2 frames for those, and that was fun. And this is on a location shooting. I had to do a series of pictures of, a picture of a miner for an ad. And people, you can get like casting people who go down and cast real people, but I always like to do it myself because I want to see who the person is and if they're comfortable in front of a camera and all that. This is literally at a coal mine in West Virginia, and just set up literally speed lights outside the elevator where these guys come up. But I wanted, if I just take pictures like snapshots, I want to actually see what they really are going to look like. So I try to make it look like what the picture is going to be in black and white. Oh, wait, there's more of those. Hang on. Sorry. These are these guys who got out of line. Sorry. What happened? Where'd it go? Oh, my God. It's here. Where'd it go? I'm sorry. don't know what happened, I missed it. Okay, so we'll get straight to our demonstration. That's fine. Something happened. I made a boo-boo. Okay, so we'll get right to it. So, sorry about that. What I'm going to show you is a couple of different things that are all really simple. And the first one I'm going to show you just for fun, I think, is actually be the Home Depot stuff. So I did a shoot in, thank you. It was like, I think it was North Carolina, I can't remember. And this kind of thing I used to do a lot of, like some executive there for Business Week or something, and we're up early, go to the airport, take a flight at 6, fly to Atlanta or Dallas, connect, end up in North Carolina, get your bags, go to the guy's office. You're there by noon, set up, take a picture at 1:30, break it down, go to the airport, flight at 4 or 5, and you get home at 9 o'clock at night and then process film. This was like, did a lot of those. One time I went down there, just one of these things, hired a local assistant because there's no budget, fine. I arrived in North Carolina and I'm nothing, like none of the stuff made the connection at all. I had my camera, so I always carry my camera. And we have to be there in like 45 minutes and shooting this guy in like an hour and 45 minutes. So I just said, is there like a Home Depot, is there anything here? And the guy said, yeah. And we went there and I literally grabbed out of the lighting, like a shop light that hangs over your workbench, like that kind of thing, something I could plug in. And we went to the place, and it obviously is not going to fit on a light stand. I didn't have light stands. So I just had the assistant like hold the light. That's what we're lighting this guy with. And it looked really cool. And the guy didn't think we were clowns. He probably thought I was really discerning because like somebody's actually like aiming at the light. And I gave the assistant the light and flew back to New York, and the pictures worked out really well. It was really a good thing. And I just thought, that's kind of liberating. That's cool. The camera doesn't care. And plus, call me crazy, but instead of strobes, the thing that's nice about that is if you're trying to learn lighting, it's easier to light with stuff you can see, right? Because you can see it. So I determined at that point that's what I was going to do. And we're in a really different era now because you don't need crazy lights. Like we're shooting with an R5, a Canon R5, and you can be shooting, you can be shooting the thing at 1600 ISO, and you could be, we're not shooting at like 8 and 11 and 16 anymore like we were with bigger cameras. Now we're in like 1.2, 2, 2.8, 4, like, it's kind of where we live most of the time. And it's even the aesthetic, the like bokeh aesthetic. You don't need a whole lot of light for that, like at all. Pretty okay. So now all of a sudden, all this stuff that was really important, not so important, right? And I teach with these because I feel like it totally demystifies it, right? And those, it's like, ooh, I don't know, man. This is like, you go to Home Depot, I think this was literally $19.95 or $29.95. And the other one we're going to use was literally like $13, I think. And they're fine. They're like totally cool. And like I said, I would be super happy to walk into the Oval Office and like, this is it. That looks awesome. I'm good. That's fine. I could do that. I don't need a grid spot on a pro photo, blah, blah, blah. I could do that. So this is the kind of stuff I want to show you real quick. That one thing we're going to do is this, just so you can see it. Another thing we're going to do is a little demo with another continuous light. It's just the fancy version, LED version, a professional version. It's fine. And show you some basic relationships with that is really useful. A third thing I'm going to show you is different size things that are really important. And I think the last thing I might do is a favorite way I have for lighting that we set up here already that's really cool, right? None of these things are hard. And I feel like you can do super crazy lighting and really involved stuff. I do it, Dan does it, Joe does it for sure. And there are times when that's required. So in every shoot, I would say every kind of situation, there's always one light that's driving the bus, always. And if you can learn how to use one light well, you could live your whole life and have a great career. If you could get real comfortable with one light and really understand what it does, it's great. I have a student who's shooting sports, and he's like, I take this and that and the 300 and the 24. It's like, this season you got in with the team, go to one game of the 28, go to one game with the 400 like just one. Because otherwise, whatever one you're using is the wrong one. You don't know how to use them yet. It's kind of like that. Just get really good with it so you're real comfortable, right? And that's totally a fine thing to do. And what happens, people do the thing, and they'll see a diagram, it's like, oh, the main light, but then you put in a fill light, but then the fill light casts a shadow, and then you gotta watch about the shadow, now I saw put a kicker. It's like, no. Just keep it really simple and learn how to do it. Like, generally in life, there's like one sun in the solar system as we know it. It works pretty good. In most rooms with a window, there's like the one window that looks great. There's that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's really not that hard. And I think if you can get really comfortable and understand what these things do, it'll really simplify all this stuff about lighting. This is a quick, itty-bitty little thing. It's a flash thing. And I need to explain it so you'll see. Okay, here we go. Ready? Can you see it? It says, why use a flash? To freeze motion. That could be a reason why. I'm going to answer these because save time. You could get enough depth of field, right? You want to be at f16, you can use a flash, it'll give you more. To get more light. People use flash back in the day. That's what people do. They'd use a flash to get more light in the space. Because they don't want to use long exposures, so they add a flash. Or because it's what the pros do, right? So somebody, America's Next Top Model or something, that's what they do. The reason you'd use flash, the main reason, is to mix it with ambient light. Like, why? Or to separate it from the ambient light? I don't get it. What's going on with that? So flash and ambient lighting, ambient's the existing light, they're two different things. Here's the, this is going to be the biggest thing ever for those of you that don't do it. It's really a big deal. So, you can mix the flash with ambient light to either simulate natural lights, what I was talking about before, or for an effect. Two kinds of lighting. One looks natural, and one looks like you just did a cool thing. Tell me, holler out if this is like I don't get it, okay? You think of the light as two layers. In this picture, one layer is the existing ambient light. That's that. Right? This was shot like at noon on a very cloudy day in the parking lot of a place where I used to work. That's the existing light. The other layer is the flash. That's that. If you stick them together, you get that. Right? And I'm kind of lighting them so it looks like maybe it's coming from one of those parking lot lights. Right? Like that. The flash and the ambient light are one exposure together, right? The flash goes, and the shutter speed gives you the ambient light. But here's the key. The flash is just a momentary burst of light. So the f-stop is what matters. The shutter speed doesn't matter. It's just a flash, right? The shutter's like an open door. The flash is like a bucket of water being thrown through the open door at your face. It doesn't matter how long the door's open, you still get the same bucket of water in your face, right? That's the flash. It does its thing. It doesn't care about shutter speeds. It just doesn't care. There's a limit, and we'll talk about that, but that's basically speaking, that's it. That's the concept. So check this out. All these images were shot at the same f-stop, but I just changed the shutter speed, right? Like I said it, so the f-stop was f4 for the flash. I just set it to f4. F4 is good. That's the flash. It was a speed light, a Canon speed light. So let's say this is f4 at a 15th of a second. This is at a 30th of a second, a 60th of a second, a 125th, a 250th, a 500th, a 1000th, a 2000th, we'll say, round to making it up. The flash stayed the same. All I did was change the shutter speeds. Right? That's why I would use a flash, is that. Does that make sense? Kind of, sort of? That's kind of how that goes. Right? So the subject stayed the same, but the background went from light to dark. Here's another sequence, first with the ambient light, and then with flash, and you'll see this. Using only the ambient light, though, the existing light, available light, the subject and the environment are inextricably bound by the same exposure. When he gets lighter and darker, the background gets lighter and darker, right? So here he is. If I want the sky to look good, like maybe that's good for him, but if I want the sky to look good, by the time the sky starts looking good, he's kind of gone, right? That's a little sad. But they get lighter and darker together, but if I add a flash, they're not linked anymore. I can do whatever I want with him and whatever I want with the background. So you can control the light on your subject independent of the background. to change the brightness of the background without affecting your subject at all. So this is what it is. If I had a flash, I got that now all of a sudden. All of a sudden I can just do that. That's easy, right? And now I can change the background, lighter, darker, I can do whatever I want, just by changing the shutter speed. That's huge. Huge, huge, huge to be able to do that. It's enormous. That's why I would do it. And it could be a giant strobe or it could be a speed light. Doesn't matter. Same idea, right? You can only, this is a cool thing because only still photographers can do it. There's no movie version. This is something we do. It's like our own little mini art form. It's a big deal. Everybody got that? That's a super important thing. Okay, now we can go to this. I just want to show you that. Does that make sense for folks? Just try it. Just try it. And you'll see. It's like immediately everything changes. Okay. So I'm going to turn on quickly the little Home Depot thing, right? And I'll just take a couple of pictures.
This one or the small ones?
Let's do that guy, I think, right? Is cool. And the meter is someplace. I'll have to get the meter. Okay. So what I'm going to do is have this chair, and we will have, Patrick, could you be our person? Patrick is here, volunteered, which is so fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And I think you might just hold your hat. Maybe just hold your hat, and I'll have you seated instead of it'll just be easier. Is that cool? Sure. Yeah, I think it'll be good. Let's do that. I'll put you way back here. We're going to do this how we did it, but just with that. Okay? And I want you to see this is really important. Where was it? Here, right? Yeah. I'll put him here for now. Let's try this. All right. So you're just going to be here just as your dignified self. Okay? Just for now. We'll see that. Thanks. That's great. Okay. So we're going to start with that way back.
You want the blue light off?
Blue light. I don't think we're going to see. Yeah, off. It'd be good if you don't mind. Thanks. So what I'm going to do, this is really important. I'll explain this as best I can. It's not, as they say, size isn't everything. So it's size and distance. What matters is apparent size. If you use the biggest softbox, but it's in Milwaukee, it doesn't matter. It's actually effectively, like if I stand here and hold my hands at how big that is to me, it's this big. Right? It's a 6-foot softbox, but at 30 feet, it's literally this for me. So if I actually have a little light that's this big, but it's here, it's kind of doing a similar thing, right? Really important to know that. So it's not just size, it's distance. And I want to show you a quick little sequence, and you'll see it's really a big deal. And I'm going to work this 2 totally different ways so you can see it, okay? So here I am, and we're going to start with it way out there, right? And I'm going to take a reading. Let's see what I got here. Hang on. Okay. Hang on 1 minute. We'll just do this. This is cool. Okay. So I'm just going to take a reading and take a picture. That just how you are is great. This is awesome. Let me see where he is. He's here. I'm going to go out this way. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Cool. I'm going to do 2 of these each time. Whoa. There you go. Just so you guys can see it. And it'll pop up there. I'm going to shoot one of these at like 24 millimeters and one of them at whatever, 105 or something like that. So you get it close and then you can see. A really important thing to notice, if you want to know if light is hard or soft, you look at the shadow. And if the shadow has hard edges, it's a hard light. And if it has soft edges, it's a soft light. It's the easiest way to know, right? So like if So if you look at him, he looks like Batman. It's like a Batman shadow. But basically, I'll do the little, let me have that little guy, one of these little guys for a minute. Here you go, I got this. There's just a little one. I'll turn mine on, turn yours off for a sec. So here you go, get ready. That's a hard shadow. Right, so it's a hard light. Can you see that? Right? So I'm just going to show you this really quick with this, and then we'll do a good one with that. This is like a junky little light, right? Watch what happens with the shadow when I move it closer, though. As I move it closer, the shadow gets softer until when I'm here, it's very soft, right? And you can see from where you are how cool he looks. I mean, that's like studio lighting. That's like thousands of dollars in studio lighting for that. No, I'm serious. To me, it's really cool. Plus, you can buy it for 20 bucks, and if it drops, like, you don't care. It's like, fine. Do you know what I mean? If you drop one of these, you have to sell your house. So can you turn yours on again? And like for students, they're not going to experiment with that. They'll play around with this just to see what happens. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to take a reading. We'll do it with this light just so you could see. So we got a white wall. We have Patrick who's very patiently here, which we appreciate. Here we go. I'll take a reading. Let me see where I am. Hang on a minute. Hold on for a sec. Yeah, this is good. Sorry. Let me see what I got. I'm sorry. All right. I'm going to see if this is correct. We'll find out. This here. All right. Let me see. See what happens. Okay, let's see. My exposure might be off on this. I'm just going to try it. If it's off, I'll do another one.
You might take this off.
Oh, yeah, we don't need it. Is that cool? Thank you.
Might be giving you
That's all right.
false reading on the
Yep.
camera.
That's good. Okay, we'll try it. I'll just try this and see. Let's see what happens. Did that come up? Oh, there you go. That's a picture. Can you see it? Okay, so there's that. That's what it looks like. It's not a super soft shadow, but it's a oh, thanks, you're right there. Thank you. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to do it this way. I think it might be easier. Can I give this to you? Is that all right? Thanks. Okay, I'm going to zoom in just so we can see it. Patrick, thank you so much. Is I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to come a little closer. Yep. This one. Okay. Cool. I'm going to move in a little bit just so we can see it. Okay, that's cool. Here we go. Yep, and do me a favor, Patrick. Look smack at me. Yep, just like that. Fantastic. Thanks. Cool. All right, here we go. Here's this one, same thing. I'm just zooming in. Cool.
There you go.
Got him? So that's a 4-foot light. Does that look soft to you? On him? No, it's not. 4 feet, it's not getting very soft. So that's that. Let's cut the distance in half, sort of. Like there. Yeah, that's cool. Let's try that. Yep. And just aim it to me a hair. Yeah, that's good. Let's try that. I'm just going to try this again. And I'm going to, I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm going to try this, and then we'll zoom out for the other one. Here we go, right here. It's cool. We got that one. Still looks pretty.
Here goes.
Yeah, still looks like a pretty hard light to me. Still sort of far away. I'll zoom out just so you can see it. Here. Cool with that. The shadow is a little softer, but kind of looks the same. Now cut the distance in half again. There we go. And aim it my way a touch. Too much? Yeah, like that. That's cool, right? So I'm going to show you this. Let's see what happens there. Yep. Cool. And I'm going to try this. Hang on. Yep. Is this shadow softer? Looking kind of cooler, I think. I'll zoom in so you can see it. Here's this. Same deal. Yep. Oh, blink, sorry, do another one. There you go. That's cool. All right, and then cut the distance in half again. There you go. Good. So we'll try this. And here we go. Cool, here we go with this. Sorry. Okay. There we are. Let's try that. Good. I think it's looking better. I'm going to give you this thing again, just so you can see it. Check out the shadow. Getting it? Right? And let's cut it in half again. You'll be right in there. Yep. Cool, like that looks great. Okay, I'm gonna do another one of these up close. Cool. Yep. Right here's nice, that's cool, right there. Good. Can you see it yet? There you go. So we're shooting, keep in mind we're shooting against a white wall. Right, that's a white wall. And again, I'll do this just so you can see it. And now I'm going to do something else before I cut the distance. I'm going to change where the light is aimed. We call feathering a light, where you aim it sort of off the subject towards the camera. So do me a favor to rotate the light to me like that. That's great. Yep. And can somebody grab a flag that we have here? There's a flag hanging out somewhere. You got it? Thanks. We'll just put I'm just putting up a little flag just to block the light from my lens so it won't flare in. That's all that I'm doing with that. Yeah, if you could just hand hold it even, just bring it over to cool, whatever. Yeah, thanks. Cool. The only reason I'm doing this is so I won't see it in the lens. If you could be like right here, it'd be awesome. And just like pretty closer to the camera, I think. Yep. And come that way a little bit. More there. Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to do this. Hang on a minute. Cool. And do me a favor and just, Nate, just turn your light to me. More. That's good. Right there is pretty cool, maybe. Let's try that. And you can back this off an inch. There. Oh, wow. Up, too much. Bring it in a little. This thing, bring it towards the light. Cool. And now this way here. Cool. Right there. Oh, my God, that's cool. We'll try this just so you can see it. Yeah. Excellent. Let's see what that looks like. Oop, I messed up the exposure, sorry. Here goes. There you go, that's great. That was good. This one is a cool one, I think, right here. Yeah. Cool, so can you see what that's doing? When I turn the light, I will show you this. Instead of, I'll grab it from you just for a sec. If I do this, the same kind of amount of light's hitting him as hitting the background, right? I'm not actually moving the light anywhere. All I'm doing is just, you can see the shadow march across the background. Do you see it? This is like, I say a lot, it's like a game of inches. It's not big moves. It's this. And I just do this, and if I could even do it more. I could come here and watch what happens. I'll just turn it a little. Can you see it come off of Patrick a little bit? It's really cool. That's real subtle, right? So I want to try a couple of these if you don't mind. I'll try a couple here, and what we're going to do real quick is a few of these. I want you to see what it does. It's awesome. Let's try one here, and then we're going to try one here. Try a couple things real quick. If you don't mind holding it, it would be good. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Thanks. No, I'm just being picky. Here, just for now. I think we'll be okay. Yeah. So coming really close, and you can aim it at him again. Mm-hmm. Now bring it up high, and bring it closer. There you go. I'm just going to do this so you can see it. It's really neat. Here. Sorry. Here it goes. Okay. There he is. Oh my God, look at you. That's great. Okay. Cool. Good. All right, just do me a favor and aim it my way just a bit. That's great. Yeah, I'll try that. That's good. Cool. I'm going to see if this works as an exposure. I think I'm okay. No, it doesn't work as an exposure. Sorry. I'm going to do this. That better? Again, we'll do it. Hold on. That's getting there. One more. I want to get it just right. Here we go. Like that. That's nice. Oh, blink, sorry. There you go. Can you see that okay? Is that coming up? I got to focus. Hang on. Okay, hang on just a sec, sorry. Okay, here goes. There we go, that's it. Good, yep. Perfect, just like that. Right, so that's kind of neat like that. Let's do this, and do me a favor, I'm gonna move this for a minute. And I'm just gonna do it like this, right here. All right, and try that, see what happens. You got it okay? Yeah, I'm just gonna try that. You're doing great. Let's just try. That's good, yeah. Cool. And tip it towards me, like, yeah, like, and bring it out my way a little. Wow, that's cool. Let's try that. That's cool. Yeah. Right? Like, and then let's try this. I'm going to grab it, actually. Sorry. Do me a favor, look over here. Yeah, that's cool like that. I'm just going to try this kind of thing right here. Yeah, let's do that. That cool? You all right? Try this. We'll just try this.
Let's go with this real quick. That way you won't.
Okay, thanks. That's cool, thanks. So I'm just going to try the same light. This is like a $15 light. We'll just try it, right? Is that good? Let's try it. We got that. That's kind of okay. And do the same thing just how you were, and bring the light my way, just a couple inches. Yeah, that's great. Let's try that. Now I'm lighting his eyes a little more, but I can see what I'm getting. That's the cool part. Right? That's kind of neat. We could do that. And do me a favor, just keep coming around behind him and turn your face towards the light more and keep going behind him. Right there. That's amazing. I like that. Let's try that. That's cool. Let's try this. I like that. Good. Yep. That's like super easy. This is super easy. Right? I mean, I could do this all day. It's super fun. But what you need to appreciate is I'm moving the light. If you face me again, if you don't mind, Patrick, just for a sec, and come back around where you were. Keep coming my way, more, more, more. That's good. So we'll do this again, just to do that. Where I am, that's great. Hang on. Cool, so we'll do this. Sorry, I'm just gonna get you in focus again. Good, okay, here goes. In focus, yes. Okay, here goes. There's this. Now, instead of moving, you keep looking right. We're looking. I'm just going to move. All right? Yeah. I'm going to do the same thing. Now I'm moving. This is that thing I'm saying, like, well, there's where the light is and where I am. I'm going to move this time. It's the exact same thing, but I'm doing it. Right? I can do this. I can do this. This is lighting to me. Right? This is totally lighting. I'm just going to keep going, basically. Right? I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. Is that coming up okay? Can you all see it? Yeah. So that's lighting. I can move or the light can move. It's the same difference. And one last thing, and then we'll do the thing up on top, is let's do a cool thing. I just want to show you. We'll do it right here. You're doing great. I appreciate it very much. So it'll be right here. I'm going to put this here, sort of like that. Here, we'll say. You all right with that? Yeah. Right there. And then I'm going to use this little guy, one of these pokey little lights. I'll use that one's good, yeah. Right, so I'm going to use this and just from underneath and see what it looks like. Good, and you're looking kind of like here. Yeah. And you could stick your chin out and down, like you're kind of doing this. Yeah, that's great. And bring the light out this way. Yeah. And this one I'm just going to have like here. All right, we're just going to try it. Okay, so can somebody hold this? Get out of it. You cool?
We're good.
I'm just going to try it. See, just to see. Right, so I'm going to try this and see what I get. It's real cool. Yep. Hang on. Right here. Okay, right there. Let's try that. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to do one. Can you turn it off, little button? Okay, it's off? Yep. Try one like this. And I'll have you turn it on. Here's one like this. And now turn it on. Cool. And bring it in a little closer and aim it up a little bit. Just aim it up. Off his neck, you'll see. Just rotate it up. Yeah, like that. That's good. That's good. Right there. Let's try that. Can you see the difference? Right? It just like enlivens the picture. It's a really cool thing. That's that crappy light, right? No, but I think it's really cool. Like you can mess with this for $40. And the other thing to think about when you're thinking about it, this is an awesome studio, right? The space I'm in right now is literally like 6 feet by 6. You could shoot this in your bathroom. I'm serious. You shoot in your garage. Like I've had to shoot this kind of thing in a boardroom, in an office, in a locker room. And it's a white wall, right? There's no black seamless or gray paper. We're shooting against a white wall for all this stuff. And we're doing things like this, which to me is like super fun. Super, super fun. Okay, we gotta stop in a minute.
Okay.
Patrick, I could photograph you all day. You're like amazing. Can we do two?
Yeah.
Both? Yeah. Please. Yeah, let's bring one more person in. This is gonna be great. Hang on one second. And I'm gonna get a chair. Oh, he's coming back for more. Hang on. Let's do there was another chair there. Nate, we're gonna do this first. Okay. Yep. Please come in. That's great, thank you. Thank you, thank you. So Patrick, you need to be actually seated if that's okay. I'm gonna have you seated. And I,
Jill.
Hi, I'm Jill.
Jill, hey Jill, thank you so much for doing this. Patrick, you're here and you're just gonna be like a teeny bit this way, okay? And Jill, you're gonna be right here. And we'll see what that looks like, okay? Let's just see this really quick. I may switch you, we're gonna see. Yep, like that, that's great. Actually, I'm gonna come behind him a little more, yep. And I want your gloved hand kind of on the shoulder. I just want to see, just like that, yep. And Patrick, you're gonna turn your face my way a little bit, and I'm gonna move this around, okay, cool? I'm just gonna try, just with this. Mine is right here. Good, hang like this, it's cool. I want this, I think we'll try it here. Just like, and do me a favor, Jill, just move your forehead if you can out like that. Yeah, perfect, that's great. Turn your nose my way a little bit, good, that's great. And where's that little light, thanks. Do this, right. And I'm gonna have this, I think here. So somebody's gonna need to do this, all right? And we'll see, something like that, I think. I'm just gonna try it, we'll see what we get. Yep. And I'm gonna turn this like this. Oh, the battery's going, hang on. That's all right. I'm just gonna try this really quick. It's great, sorry. Good, yeah, that's cool. We're just gonna do this like this, just like that's great. Cool, okay. So Jill, come my way an inch. Do me a favor, Nate, feather the light my way a lot. Yep, that's great, cool. Bring it up a little higher and aim it a little bit back towards Jill. There you go. That's great. A little more towards Jill. More. That's amazing. Good. And this thing needs to come in. Yeah, like that. That's great. Cool. Let's just try this and see what we get. I'm just curious. I think that's pretty okay. Let's try this. Patrick, turn your nose my way just a touch. Yeah, that's good. Let's try this. Just to try. This is just for fun. See if it looks okay. Did it come up? Is anything coming up? Yes? No? Yes? Yes. Okay. So that's cool. Just a little starter thing we're doing, right? And let me try one more variation with this real quick, and then we'll switch to the other thing. Do me a favor, face this way a little bit and come around the other side for a second like that. Yeah, that's awesome. That's perfect. Come this way a little bit. Cool. That's great. This is going to be great. Thank you. Yep. I'm going to put this here. I'm actually going to do this way because I want to get on the background a little, I think. Yeah. Let's try this. Ooh, let's try that if you can do it. Is that cool? Let's see what that does. Yep. Just try it, just for fun.
Do you want this in there?
Yeah, I think we might. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, that's neat. That's really cool. Yep. Try this for a sec, it's cool.
I have to smell that off right now.
Okay, we'll put it on. It's good, yep. And I'm gonna have this guy here. And it's gonna wanna be, where, I think here. Can I do that? Let's do that. Do me a favor, Jill, look that way a little bit more. Yeah, like that, that's awesome. And again, come out that little bit's great, cool. I think like that. Can you see where it just kind of catches him? Yep. So you're sort of there. You could come, yes, that's great. We'll just see. Just for fun. Yep. That's kind of great. I'm gonna do it this way. Good. Jill, you're kind of on the button with that. I think is great. Cool. Okay. Good. Great. Okay. Nate, if you could feather your light my way a little bit. That's great, like that. Yep. Cool. I'm just gonna try that and see. Good. Hang on. We're gonna try two things really quick. This is one. See if that's okay. Yeah, and do me a favor, take your light behind them. And you're just gonna put it on the wall. Just shine it on the wall, yep. Crouch low, and kind of get behind her a little bit, Jill, yep. And aim it at the wall, right at the wall, and put your arm lower, 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 and reach around back more. And aiming it at the wall. Yep, like that. Now bring your arm down, 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 and aim it that way. More? That's cool. Let's try that and see what happens. That's cool too. That's great. I like that. Let's see, just to see. Here it is. Cool. Yeah, let me try this. All right, cool. Okay, so we can see that. All right, I'm going to stop this now. But it's not even that it's amazing, it's just fun, right? And you can switch it up and play with it. These are way lighter here than they are on my camera. Oh no, that's cool. It's like that. I'm seeing it from the side. Can you see like moving it around? It's like now it's a backlight, now it's a front light, now it's you can just play with it. There's like $30 worth of stuff. Thanks. Hang on, one more thing. We have 1 minute. We have 1 minute. If we just turn this on and bang, we're good.
It's on.
Okay? So I'm going to show you one other thing that's just great. I think is really fun. We can turn on the overheads because it won't matter. We'll be able to see what we're doing, if that's all right. So there's one kind of light that is really fun to do, and again, super simple. Did everybody get that this was simple and fine? Like go to Home Depot from here. I'm gonna have like the Joe McNally line. I'm gonna have the Heisler line of like Home Depot lights. There are untold hundreds of dollars I could make from this, I think. It's really amazing. So the next thing, and I really like it a lot. Again, I didn't invent any of this stuff. Really useful. So if I had to light a group of people here, right? The first thing you do is like, oh, I need a bunch of soft boxes, or one on this side, one on that side, that kind of thing, right? It's like, no, you could. And that's like the next year, another class or something. But one thing that's fun is like, it's the sun, right? There's one sun, it's 93 million miles away. That's the distance thing. The sun's like really big, but at that distance, it's this big, right? So I want to use a light that's this big. It doesn't have an octabank, it doesn't have a softbox. It looks like a dot. So we took there, it's kind of like past this little thing, just sitting up in there, aiming down. It's just the bulb sticking out. It doesn't have like a reflector or a softbox. It's a bulb, right? So what it's going to do is barf light everywhere. It's mostly going to barf it that way. But because it's just doing that, it's actually filling in, because it's going to hit some of this and hit that. It's like cool, right? What's great about it, I think, is it gives a really super hard shadow, but it's not bad hard. It looks like the sun. It looks like we're in Miami or LA on a rooftop with a white wall. It looks great. And what's cool about that is if you're shooting a group of people, you don't have to be like, oh, you're in the light, like what I was just doing. Oh, can you move it this way? Ah, like too much. It's like, it's F8 from there to there, and there. You have people dancing, twirling. What won't matter? They move a foot forward. It's the same light. It's everywhere, right? And if you have somebody with glasses, all the worst they'll get is an itty bitty dot that just looks like sunlight. Doesn't matter, right? So, wait till you see this. It's cool. I think it's cool. All right, so we're going to do this from back here, and we'll have all you guys line up on either side. Everyone, you should get in, okay? We have like as wide as we were. And actually, Jill, can you come forward also, Patrick, both of you? You'll be right there. Yep, you look like you beamed in from another era. Okay. You should sit. It's great. Looks great when you're sitting, actually. Yeah.
Are we using the ambient light?
We don't want to be.
What are we using?
Just the flash.
The flash.
So disable's good, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do it from back here. It's a flash. It doesn't have to be a flash for the reasons that we were looking at. I'm just doing it as a flash because in this particular moment, it's easy. That's all. It could just be a light bulb. I had a friend who's a still life photographer who used to do this, and he was shooting little things. And you know, light that goes in like a quartz light, it's one of those itty bitty bulbs. In his whole studio, he made hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. The only light he used was a quartz light this big because he wanted everything to look like the sun. And in his studio, he built himself, he's a genius, this guy. He's so good that he's not a photographer anymore. He plays jazz guitar in nightclubs. But he was like an original thinker. He made himself a cube that was 9 feet by 9 feet by 9 feet of just PVC pipe. And he put diffusion on the sides. And he would put his little light bulb in it. So it would just bounce around. And he'd just put stuff in it. It was like his perfect room. He had this like perfect little cube in there. And that was it. And the guy's like a poet. He's really so great. So this is not poetry. It's a different kind of picture. But it's really cool. And the reason this is cool is like, We've all seen this light before. You know, it's not like I invented something. It's like, oh yeah, that's what it is, fine. So let's try. Everybody line up as the thing, yep. Okay. So this is perfect. Ready for this? I hope it's great. I think it's going to look really cool. I do. This is like a no-brainer picture, but I just think it's awesome. Here goes. Ready? 125th at F8, right? That sounded right to me. Okay, 125th at F8, just because that's what it is. All right, ready? On a count of 3, 1. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Oh, it's hitting that thing. But you'll see it. Right? Everybody take a step this way. You guys can stay, yeah, or just shove it, yeah. Like there's just a shadow because of this beam. I forgot to put my tripod where it was. That's my bad. We'll do it the right way. You guys have to come over even more, I'm sorry. Yep. More, yep. Here we go, we'll do it this way, it's cool. Yeah, keep coming. That's good, right there, it's great, thank you. Okay, this is it. Yeah, it's good. All right, here goes, ready? This is it, sunlight. Move out an inch, but that's, oh my God. It's art, it is, it's perfect. It didn't take a picture, error 30, what the hell is that? Hold on. Do it again. Here it comes. There we go, that was one. Here we go. Disconnected, we'll get it, don't worry. It did a bad thing. Here it comes, don't you worry. This is what happens when you're in like the Oval Office, like, oh, excuse me, Mr. President, I have to like reboot. They never had to do that with film. It's like a problem. But just so you know, the Canon is perfect. This is totally iPad issue. Just saying, really. In fact, the Canon does it remarkable compared to other cameras. Is it up? It's coming? It's thinking?
It's loading.
Okay, here we go.
Just click the shutter for me real quick.
Here we go. If you say so, here it comes. All right, good. We'll try this. Great. Good. Should I try one? Just to see? Here it goes. Matt, this better be good, man. That's all I'm saying. Okay, here it goes. You guys look great. You do. Completely unrelated, but good nonetheless. Oh, my God. But you have to think of it. If we had to run this film to the lab now, we'd be here after dinner. We'd still be waiting. Be a whole thing. Well, yeah. So is this making any sense at all with this? The thing that's cool about this, it's one itty-bitty light. It's like a no-brainer. It's so easy, right? Super easy.
That's connected.
There you go. So to me, I say it looks like sunshine. Matt, you're in there. That's good, man. Cool. Matt, come in a little closer. That's good, and you need to come out that way a little bit more. Awesome, that's great. Actually, this is fantastic, I gotta say. Wow. Very beautiful-ish. It's good, here goes. So again, if you folks understand, if I change the shutter speed, it won't matter. It's just that pop that's doing it. What's going on with you guys? I don't understand. It's good. Right, so that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people spread out. They're all lit fine. It's cool. They could literally be dancing, twirling around, laughing, throwing up their hat. It doesn't matter. It's like, let's just see. There is that beam there, which is going to change it. I'll just zoom out a little so you could see it. Just to see it. It'll probably be different, but let's just see. There you go, perfect.
Greg, what's your ISO on
I have the ISO at, not for any good reason, I have it at 800. And it's fine. Is it coming through? Come on, you. I don't see it happening. Not coming through. I don't see it. Is it, you think? Yeah. So again, I'll just move an inch so you see it. Here's this, just so I don't see that beam. Let's do it, one more thing. Can we get a couple more folks? Hop in, just anybody, just some volunteers, really quick. We'll just hop in. So we see a couple more people, it'd be great. That's good. Cool. All right, great. And out this way is good. We have lots of room this way. Perfect, that's great. Cool. All right. This is good, you're into it. That's so much fun. That's great. Okay, here we go. So this is wide now. I'm seeing really wide. It's got to be 20 feet or something, right? So we'll look here and just see if it's a picture. Is it a picture? Yes. It's cool. I think it's great. It's loading. It is loading. I'm loading. Here we go. Here it is. Like, how easy, is that cool? That looks so neat. I really think so. I love this. So I've done this kind of thing for like, I'm not a big fan for fashion stuff, for a record cover. It's like so fun. And it's super crisp in a way that's really neat. I'll zoom in just so you can see it. I think it looks really contemporary and cool. I'll come in close, I'll do you two guys, because you look so fabulous. There we go. So I'll do this, just to see. And what's nice about this in a way, it kind of describes, I'm just gonna do them. You could stay there if you want, but it's not gonna matter. Here we go, we'll try this. Yep, here we go. It sort of describes every detail in kind of a cool way, I think. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, we'll just try this. Okay, on the count of 1. Look and see how cool it looks, really neat. I think it's neat. It's very beautiful. Like, how cool is that? Right? Bar mitzvahs, wedding, you can knock them out. I'm telling you. But the truth is, I think, in a way, there's something really appealing about, to me, really appealing. And what it's doing is the light's filling in, because it's just kind of like on a beach. It's how sunlight is on a beach, pretty much, right? It's not a fill card, it's an everywhere card, which is cool. Does this stuff make sense? I feel like we should have a question and answer period for about a second. Anybody have a good question? Seriously, anybody? Or good?
What wireless tether app are you using?
I don't know.
It's Shutter Snitch. We have a video on our YouTube.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that one. Anybody have a question about the other stuff? Anything? So this thing, it wouldn't matter. It's a pro photo light, strobe. It honestly could just as easily be a desk lamp. It could be. That's what I was saying. It's like, in a sense, unless the picture is going to be in Times Square or a giant billboard, if I were shooting this even for a magazine, I could shoot with a Canon R5, and I could be at ISO 4000, and I could be shooting this picture at 2.8. You don't need a whole lot of light for that, right? You don't.
Just plug that thing in.
We had this into a pack. The thing is, though, we're dealing with this at school. It's a great light for sure. But it's like the power pack is $18,000. The light is $3,500. I'm successful. I don't have shit like that. Like, that's just expensive. Is that a Canon? No, this is not. This is a pro photo. But the truth is, like, that could be a speed light. If we had time, I would just do it with speed lights you could see. You could. The sensor doesn't care. It honestly and truly doesn't. And with a speed light, it's putting out like a puff of light, not a blast of light, but you only need a puff at ISO 8000. It's fine. The important thing of all this was what I was trying to get across today. The most important thing is your intention. Like, what do I want to do? Do I want to look like this? Or do I want to look like the kind of more old school thing? It's not better. Like, what do I want? What do I want? Like the old school thing, I could use 40 grand worth of lighting, or I could use that little light and this light when I was just doing the pictures of Patrick. Those little portraits are real nice. And the thing that's cool about that, I think, for people, because I'm always aware of, because I don't shoot like fashion models a lot. It's great. I just have never, I'm too square, I haven't done that much. But if you're shooting regular folks, and frankly, even if you're shooting actors and fashion people, but especially, they're not intimidated by having these little lights around. Do you know, they don't flash, they're not worried about blinking, they don't get hot. It's like they're just kind of there and it's cool. You know, I did a story a long time ago for Mass General Hospital on people who were HIV positive for years and had never developed full-blown AIDS. And they were like subjects of intense study because the doctors want to figure out what's going on and like bottle it, right? So they wanted me to go all around the country. I shot like 6 or 8 portraits. There's no money. I put an estimate, and it was like airfare, a rental car, food, a hotel. That's it. And one of the magazines was really nice, said, oh, this is way too much. And I said, well, I could walk to New Mexico. I could sleep on a park bench. I can, like, tell me what you don't want. I don't know, right? So that's what it was. She agreed. But in a sense, I was walking these people's homes, and what I had basically was like, you know, forgive me for doing this, like basically like this and like a tripod bag to walk into somebody's house. It had little, they would be LED lights now, they were little fluorescent lights, small like that, and a little black backdrop that I just humped fabric, and my Canon, and little tiny light stands, and a little tiny tripod. And there was no flashing, it was quiet, the nature of that kind of a thing, when you're working that way, is very quiet, very intimate with people. It is. It's like we're just there in a little space. Like, you know, I shoot somebody into big space. There's a picture we didn't get to in my thing. I photographed this author, Chinua Achebe. He's a famous Nigerian author. He wrote a great book called Things Fall Apart. It's great. So I was photographing him. It was up at Bard College. And the room they gave us was sort of in a way like this. They call it the multi-purpose room. It's like, they have functions in it, and it was big. It was like this. And he's like a guy in a wheelchair, just like a guy, right? And I didn't want to do that, and I literally brought a whole bunch of black fabric. We made like it was just me, didn't have an assistant, made a little like a cocoon, basically like a 8 by 8 foot little cocoon. So all he saw was me against black. All I saw was him. We were like this far apart. And it was quiet, it was really nice. You know what I mean? Like, that's a big piece of it, is how people respond. And that's a whole other thing that I'll just say for 5 seconds is, for me, the most important thing, again, it varies in a portrait, is the subject distance to me, how far away I am, right? Like, if I'm photographing you, and I'm back here, and I say, can you lift your chin? Like, there's no contact. It doesn't mean it won't be a good picture, there's no anything. Right, it's not. And if I get closer, it kind of gets easier. Closer is easier, fine. Once I'm past like here, we have to like start being in love because I'm like in your space. That could be okay, but it's like you're close, right? The good distance is like across a table in a bar. Like that's good. We're all good with that. It's even better if there's a table, right? Because it's so, try it. Like if there's just a little something there, all of a sudden, instead of being weird, it's cool. And the table gives the other person something to lean on. Like all of a sudden, there's all this stuff they could do instead of just like this or this or this or this. They're like, they can be doing, so that's cool. And they feel safe. Just try it. It's, you know, Charlie Rose, anybody ever see Charlie Rose talk show? He had a big round table. Every other talk show, the host has a desk, has a built-in what we call privacy screen, so you don't see their crotch. They're there. And the other poor person has to sit here like this, facing out and talking like that. All the time. Charlie Rose had a table. They both sat there. And I met him once at a thing, and I just said, whose idea was the table? And he said, that's mine. Nobody ever asked me. That was my idea. And people are comfortable. And they sit and they talk, and they're protected, but it's that distance. So I would do anything for a certain kind of portrait to be at this distance. So if I want to be at this distance, I want a headshot, like say I'm shooting 35 millimeter, I might be at a 105. If I wanted to here, it's a 70. If I wanted to here, it's a 50. I don't want to move, right? So that to me is like, I'll do anything to stay here because all of a sudden we're just, when I'm here, you're not even looking at other stuff because like we're here. Do you know what I mean? It's like really a cool thing. And to me, as doing portraits, that's a big deal. My first summer in New York when I was working for Arnold, I was in Central Park on a Saturday. And I saw 2 blonde women in ponytails doing, like running in place. Look weird, but it's New York, right? So my figure's okay. Looking around, don't see anything. And I walk another 20 yards, and there's a big bearded guy with a big lens, like a giant lens on a tripod, smoking a cigar, and he literally has his finger on the button, and he's not even looking at the models. It's like, and it runs out, and he goes, you stop. And the 2 women stop, and his assistant goes and reloads the camera, a Nikon, reloads the camera, just fair, balance, fair and equal. Reloads a Nikon. The guy's talking like the art director. And then the camera's ready. And he says, you go now. Again, it's like, this is it. I'm watching this for like 15 minutes after working for Arnold. Is like, this is photography. Like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. It's like, wow. And I watched. I honestly couldn't believe it was like amazing. They were so far away. They were like, you know, in another state. And doesn't mean it didn't look good, didn't mean it wasn't a good picture. It was like, what the hell is that? And I asked the woman, they took a break, and I said, oh, you know, I'm asking the photographer. He said, oh, this is Patrick de Marchelier. He's a super famous fashion photographer. He passed away a couple years ago. It's he's very good. That he's not down for this, right? There's so many ways to be a photographer. Do you know what I mean? Some people are in it because they want to meet boys. Some people want to meet girls. Some people want to go cool places. Some people love the stuff. Some people are on the illusion they'll make a living. There's like a million, there's like a million reasons to be a photographer. It's fine. But one of the things I think is so much fun, I hope you get it loud and clear from like me and Dan and Joe, is like, we just love it. It's like more fun than anything else. Even though it's challenging and frustrating to tear your hair and stuff, we get to do this all day. And what's so super fun about being here is you all do it all day. Do you know what I mean? Like, how many professions would you get, like 300 people in a room super up for it? Like, I just think it's great. I do. I think, I don't know, give yourselves a big hand. I think it's like really cool that we're all here. Did any of this make sense? I did it fast. It's not like a form. It's not like, oh, so this is how you do it. But like, this picture could be them. This picture could be Trump and Biden. This picture could be Taylor Swift. It could be. Hey, that could be my style. So one of these, the last thing I'll mention is style, quickly. To me, there's three things. This is just, my opinion. There's vision. That's like the basic level. It's like your DNA. Like if you were dropped on your head as a kid, where you grew up, that's who you are, right? Like your fingerprint, your visual fingerprint, and how you kind of put a frame together. And you see that most clearly in straight up photojournalists, because there's no like technical overlay in a sense. You're really seeing the raw, who they are, right? Then there's technique. That's technique. Technique is how you make the picture. Use lots of lights, no lights, color, this way, that way, whatever you do. That's technique. To me, style is your vision expressed through whatever technique you use, right? That finished thing would be, to me, style. What people mistake it for, that is style, that's a technique. That's like, if I drew it out for you, it becomes a recipe, right? I could shoot it, Dan could shoot it, you could shoot it. It's fine, I didn't invent it, right? But you could do that. What becomes interesting is like, how Dan would do that wouldn't look like that, right? Everything he does like a little disquieting. That's like a little funny, a little bit, right? That's like how he would see it, right? How Joe would see it would be a different way, right? If you're shooting at the Olympics and you have a setup and you're doing, well, then that's going to be different, right? That's a technique you would use to do the thing. And what happens with photographers who think that that is their style is someone else does it and they're a little out of luck. And that becomes in favor for a while and then it becomes not in favor. So I think your innate difference is your innate difference. And what you want to do is try not to be like everybody else. That's your job security, is being who you already are. I'm just saying. And when we lose our job security is when we become like everybody else, and then we become interchangeable, and that's not so good. So there you go. Thanks. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.